Chapter 1159. However, the situation right now was different. Huang Feidi had died, and right now, there was no one to testify against him. How was it possible for Yi to wash away the injustice? However, right at this moment, Qian Yuqing's eyes lit up, and she suddenly thought of a good idea. Soul Gem. The spirit gem was still in his hands. This should be the only thing that could prove Yi's innocence. Justice for Yi. Perhaps it was because they were in the same boat, Qian Yuqing said. Yehua, I have something that can prove whether Yi is a spy or not. Yihua looked towards Qian Yuqing. His meaning was very clear. Do you want to get involved in this matter as well? Yehua, this is the spirit gem from back then. That Huang Yun won't be able to withstand this. Let Yi give it a try. If she is a spy, then just kill her. If she isn't a spy, then husband, please deal with her leniently. Qian Yuqing said in a low voice. She did not let anyone else hear her, but Yi Juetian and Gong Yu, who were closer to her, heard her. Yi Juetian was very excited because he believed that Yi was not a spy. But Gong Yu was not happy. He knew that Yi wasn't a spy, but if Yi's name was cleared, this was not good for him. Should I say something now? Otherwise I won't have the chance anymore. Gong Yu didn't dare to say it. If she stopped him now, she would become a suspect. Yihua looked at the spirit gem and slightly wrinkled his brows. His expression was very tense. Yihua, why don't you give it a try? At least there will be a result. Lu Jing spoke, and all of the daughters-in-law let out a breath of relief. Yihua said gravely, All right, Yi, this emperor will give you another chance. Hearing his big brother's words, Yi Juetian was very happy. Yi could finally clear her name. However, Yi, who was kneeling on the ground, didn't have any feelings at all, because Yi Juetian didn't believe in her. Right now, there was already no meaning in trying to explain anything to him. A man who didn't believe in me, and I even foolishly gave up everything for him. He was so stupid. Qian Yuqing took the heart gem and walked towards Yi. Everyone was able to admire the beauty of the empress up close. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating. Qian Yuqing was the most beautiful woman in the gods' realm. And that was not just for show. Actually, Yi wasn't bad either. It was just that her aura wasn't there yet. Yi, take this. It can prove your innocence. Qian Yuqing helped Yi up and encouraged her. Everyone looked at the spirit gem in Qian Yuqing's hand and felt quite confused. They did not know what this spirit gem was used for. However, this mind gem was a lie detector. Yi looked at the bead in Qian Yuqing's hand. A small bead could make her innocent, but could it build trust again? Yi Juetian, I will never trust you again. I will never trust you again in this lifetime. If I could, I would rather be spurned by everyone on the street than kneel here and be distrusted by you. Yi. Qian Yuqing called out softly. Qian Yuqing realized that Yi had changed a little at this moment. She seemed to have become a stranger. Yi took over the spirit gem and held it in her hand. Yi couldn't feel any emotions anymore. In this world, there is already nothing left for me to remember. The only person I have left has also passed away. Qian Yuqing took a deep breath and shouted at the crowd. Everyone, this is the soul gem. It can detect lies. If you're not lying, the spirit gem will shine brightly, otherwise it will dim. After that, Qian Yuqing looked at Yi and asked in a deep voice, Yi, are you a spy? Everyone held their breath at this moment. Not knowing why, the life and death of this palace made affected everyone's emotions. Even Fan Jin was the same. Looking at this infatuated woman, even Fan Jin felt that she was wronged. Qian Yuqing looked at Yi closely and waited for the result. Meanwhile, Yi, who was holding onto the soul gem, slightly raised her head and looked towards Yi Juetian. Yi could feel that Yi Juetian wanted to hear the result. He doesn't believe me. I'm just a joke, Yi shouted out loudly. I'm a spy. Following that, everyone became puzzled. They didn't know what was going on. Wasn't Yi trying to clarify just now? Why did she admit to it now? In actuality, Yi was mocking those people who didn't believe in her. Yihua could feel Yi's mockery, and his expression became incomparably gloomy. I was actually mocked by a woman. However, after a short while, the soul gem in Yi's hand didn't emit any light at all. On the contrary, it became dim. The entire crowd went into an uproar. This palace may just said a lie. She isn't a spy. Qian Yuqing revealed out a smile. I knew that Yi isn't a spy. Yi Juetian was also very happy. How could Yi be a spy? She really scared him badly. Qinya and the others also let out a sigh of relief. It's good that he isn't a spy. Everything is just a misunderstanding. However, right now, Yi Hua's mood became even worse. Yi is actually not a spy. That damned Huang Feidi lied to me. And I actually foolishly believed it. That damned Huang Feidi. I shouldn't have let White Bones kill him so easily. I should have ruthlessly tortured him. You actually lied to me. In actuality, it was very normal for Yi Hua to be deceived. His mother's life was on the verge of death, and Yi Hua was completely unable to maintain a calm mind. Furthermore, Yi was indeed a suspect, and all of these were very reasonable. However, only these women with their sixth sense felt that Yi was not a spy, so sometimes, what they saw and heard might not be true. Only at this moment did Yi Hua realize that not only was his face slapped by a dead person, his face was also slapped by Yi who was below him. Yi Hua revealed a self-mocking smile on his face. How many years has it been? I, the Supreme Overlord, was actually played by someone. My intelligence was fiercely rubbed on the ground. In actuality, Lu Jing had always felt that Yi wasn't a spy, just that Yi was rather stupid. Right now, seeing that Yi was able to prove herself, Lu Jing felt at ease. Gong Yu's mood was very bad right now. I didn't expect that sister-in-law would have such a method to save Yi, this foolish woman. I will think of a way in the future. Let's settle this marriage first. At the very least, I will have a status, while you don't have a status. When everyone saw that Yi was able to prove her innocence, a smile appeared on their faces. It wasn't easy for this little palace maid. It wasn't known who started clapping, but everyone started clapping and cheering for Yi. As an ordinary palace maid, for Yi to be able to face such a powerful empire, even Fan Jin would feel ashamed of his own inferiority. Qian Yuqing stretched out her hand and wiped away the tears that were at the corner of Yi's eyes, then said tenderly, "All right, everything is fine now." Yi returned the spirit gem that was in her hand to Qian Yuqing, then said lightly, "Empress, thank you. It's good that you are fine now. Go back and have a good rest later." "And I indeed need to have a good rest," Yi said lightly, but Qian Yuqing didn't understand the meaning behind Yi's words. End of this chapter. Chapter 1160. The rest that Yi was talking about was to rest for a long time, to rest forever. "I'm tired, I'm really tired." Qian Yuqing walked towards the stairs in satisfaction, but before she even took a few steps, Qian Yuqing heard Yi Juetian shouting out loudly, "Yi!" However, everyone in the surroundings immediately stood up, and their gazes were filled with shock and puzzlement. Fan Jin didn't understand. Why did this palace maid want to do this? Didn't I already explain it clearly? Qian Yuqing turned her head around and looked towards Yi. She didn't know what happened, but Qingye and the others had clearly seen what happened just now, and they were all stupefied. Even Yi Hua had seen what happened just now, and his entire body felt unwell. If Yi's innocence just now was equivalent to slapping my face, then what Yi is doing right now is equivalent to mocking me. She doesn't need my forgiveness at all. This was the first time Yi Hua had seen such a woman, and he was clearly feeling very heavy. In fact, he was even pondering over what happened to Yi. Was I really wrong? She actually used her death to tell everyone that she doesn't need other people's pity. This ordinary woman. She actually defeated me. Yi Juetian directly rushed towards Yi. Gong Yu didn't stop him, because just now, Yi had already swallowed the poison that Gong Yu had given to her. And this poison was incurable. Gong Yu had originally kept it for herself, but after coming here, she discovered that she didn't need it at all. "Don't come over." Yi took a few steps back, then pointed at Yi Juetian and shouted out. Yi Juetian stopped his footsteps, and tears flowed down from his eyes. "Yi, why didn't everything end?" "That's right, everything has ended. I'm tired. I don't want to continue living with you anymore." Yi revealed out a smile. "How many days has it been?" This was the most natural smile that Yi revealed out. This was a type of release. This was a type of relaxation. Right now, Yi's heart was very calm, and there wasn't a single trace of reluctance. Yi Juetian didn't understand why Yi would choose to end her own life. We can still continue living. Can you believe in me? Looked towards the blue sky once again and said lightly, "No, I won't believe in you anymore. Please let me go." "I won't, don't leave me." Juetian shouted out. "Why did this happen? Just what did I do wrong?" The people around them seemed to be able to feel this desolation. This was a pair of lovers with a bitter fate. It was a touching scene. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were both sobbing. Never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that would be like this. Qing Yutong looked at blankly, and tears slowly flowed down from her eyes. This silly girl, why is she so silly? Gong Yu was very happy. The matter is finally settled. Cracks appeared on Yi's body, giving off a white light. Yi could feel the peace before death. She no longer had to think about how he was doing. Has he eaten? Was he hungry? Did he rest well? Yi Juetian looked at Yi's face. Those cracks had already caused Yi's face to become blurry. However, Yi still had one last thing to say. "If I could turn back time, I wouldn't go with you," Yi said softly, but her voice contained too much bitterness. Everyone could tell that this girl really did not have it easy. Yi slowly raised her head and took one last look at Wushu Empire's blue sky. "It's really very blue, Yi." Yi Juetian immediately ran towards Yi and hugged onto Yi's body. However, Yi's body shattered into pieces within Yi Juetian's embrace. Just like how Yi Juetian's heart shattered into pieces, the sparkling and translucent pieces fell onto the ground. And Yi Juetian looked at the pieces on the ground stupidly. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Juetian slowly squatted down and touched the pieces with his trembling hands. That pair of clear eyes of his did not carry any nostalgia at all. His tears fell onto the pieces, and as Yi Juetian picked up the pieces, his heart ached to the point that he couldn't breathe. That girl who loved to smile. Her smile just now was so sweet. Yet at the very end, her smile was one of release. Perhaps it was just like what Yi had said just now. I shouldn't have allowed her to follow me. If not, how could things have turned out like this? How much grievance and pain did I make Yi suffer? Now that Yi is free, who is going to free me? Yi, I only want you to live. I have always believed in you from the start. Yi Juetian hugged the pieces in his embrace, as if he was hugging Yi again, and he could even feel the warmth of Yi's body. Yi, I will bring you out of this place. I shouldn't have brought you here. Just like that. Everyone watched as Yi Juetian left. No one stopped him, not even Yi Hua. Yi Hua only instructed Yi Zizi to look after Yi Juetian, and not let him do anything foolish. As long as Yi is able to die, Yi Juetian will be mine. Now, it will be my turn to console Yi Juetian, and let him walk out of this sorrow. Right now, Yi Hua tightly clenched his fists. This woman is making me feel so uncomfortable. At this moment, Jiu Yang slowly woke up, and he sized up the surroundings with a confused gaze. Noticing that the people in the surroundings seemed to be very heavy, he then secretly looked towards the emperor who was on the stairs, and his expression was incomparably heavy. However, that palace maid from earlier had already disappeared. She must have been executed. In that case, she is definitely going to kill me next. Jiu Yang immediately fainted again. How big of a matter is this? Is there a need to fight to the death? It's not like there is a deep hatred between us. Yi Hua directly disappeared from his seat, and did not say anything. His mood was extremely bad right now. Qingye could sense Yi Hua's hesitation. Yi's matter might have given Yi Hua a deep lesson. Lu Jing didn't expect that the happy occasion would end up like this. However, right now, she had no choice but to stand up and speak. Everyone, due to a situation that occurred, today's wedding ceremony is temporarily cancelled. Thank you for coming. Lu Jing said lightly, then let Yi Yuanqing who was beside her support her down the stairs. This is terrible. At this moment, Qian Yuqing was still standing on the stairs blankly, feeling that everything that happened just now was just like a dream. At this moment, Qingye and the others had also left the wedding ceremony. As the groomsmen and bridesmaids, they had to arrange for everyone to leave the wedding ceremony. However, what happened today would be spread throughout the entire north tomorrow. As for how it would be spread, an emperor hounding a palace made to death, there would definitely be such a version. Where's Yi Hua? Where did he go? Qingye searched the entire bedroom, but was unable to find Yi Hua's shadow. I didn't find him here either. Donghuang Baiji said anxiously. This Yihua couldn't have taken things too hard, right? Qing Yutong let out a light sigh. Brother-in-law suffered a blow today. Huang Feidi's teasing and Yi's decisiveness caused brother-in-law to feel very uncomfortable. Qingya rubbed onto her forehead and said gravely, That's right, Yihua rarely wronged others, but this time he wronged others. Furthermore, the palace maid had already died to show her sincerity. There is no need for Yihua's charity. End of this chapter. Chapter 1161. This is my first time seeing Yihua like this. Donghuang Baiji said concernedly. In the past, Yi would always have a calm look on his face, as if everything was within his grasp. However, this time, Yi had completely miscalculated. Even in such a situation, Yi had chosen to commit suicide. Wasn't this the same as telling Yihua, My life is not under your control? The problem is, where did Yihua run off to? Qingya asked worriedly. He is already a few thousand years old. How can he still go missing? Does he think that I am still a child? Qing Yutong suddenly clapped her hands. I know where brother-in-law went. However, right now Yihua was currently sitting inside the bedroom of Leisure Bar, and the television was currently playing Calabash Brothers Saving Grandpa. Only by watching this would Yihua's mood be able to calm down. Every time when Yihua was in a bad mood, he would quietly sit down and watch cartoons. Right now, Yihua was incomparably serious as he watched the battle. However, his heart was very heavy. Was I really wrong this time? How could this woman be so powerful? She had already proven her innocence, yet it still ended in death in the end. Especially when Yihua saw his younger brother desperately hugging onto Yi and his younger brother's shattered body. Yihua found it hard to accept such a scene. Wrong. Wrong. This time, I, the Supreme Overlord, am really wrong. This girl, Yi, has really let me see what is wrong. 3 beautiful figures appeared behind Yihua. Seeing that Yihua was sitting on the sofa and watching Calabash Brothers saving his grandfather, Qingya and the others finally felt at ease. This fellow seems like Qing Yutong understands this brother-in-law quite well, and knows that he definitely ran over here. Although the 3 wives had already found Yihua, they didn't disturb Yihua from watching the cartoon. They knew that Yihua was currently reflecting on himself. It was a pity for Yi and the infatuated Yi Juetian to learn from this matter. On the other side, Yi Juetian carried the fragment and walked out of Voidless Empire. Yi Zizi followed behind him. After leaving Voidless Empire, the temperature started to plummet, and the snow that filled the sky seemed to be silently mourning for Yi. Yi Juetian muttered to himself, Actually, I really want to walk in the snow with you, but in the Imperial Palace, I don't dare to come find you. I'm afraid you'll be in danger. We are finally out now, out of the Imperial Palace, out of Wushu Empire, Yi. I'm sorry, Yi Juetian said with a heavy tone. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. The fragment in his bosom was gradually dissipating, causing Yi Juetian to panic. The fragments fell onto the snowy ground. Yi Juetian frantically picked up the fragments, but these fragments were quickly dissipating. Those spirited eyes disappeared from Yi Juetian's eyes. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't bring back those sweet memories. In just a few breaths of time, all the fragments had disappeared. Yi Juetian sat paralyzed on the snowy ground, staring at the sky. It was as if he had lost his soul, and regret flowed out from the corners of his eyes. Swish, swish, swish. A series of footsteps rang out behind Yi Juetian. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and stood beside Yi Juetian. After a long time she asked, Do you blame your big brother? I blame myself for not protecting her properly. Yi Juetian said powerlessly. I can't even protect the woman I love. What kind of man am I? Yi Zizi let out a long sigh. I feel that Yi is a good girl, so I gave her my favorite lollipop. Yi Juetian didn't say anything. Even now, he still couldn't accept the fact that Yi had already died. I hope that on the other side, there is only sweetness and no pain, Yi Zizi said faintly. Illusory land, at this moment, an anomaly appeared. The entire sky became multicolored, and a sacred aura appeared. All of the animals let out low roars, and some even knelt on the ground. All of the animals faced a single direction and lowered their heads. This kind of anomaly appeared in every corner of the illusory land, and everyone felt this baptism. Within a small forest, two old men were currently playing chess. One of them, who was placing down a chess piece, suddenly stopped and raised his head to look at the sky. The entire sky was like a sunset, and all sorts of birds let out joyful cries. The old man didn't place his chess piece down and placed it back into the round box. Seems like this ant succeeded in her tribulation. It truly wasn't easy. She is the first female deity in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. The old man said with a slight smile. Brother Eastern Emperor, this congratulatory gift should have been sent up long ago, right? Brother Jiang, that is only natural. One of the 2 old men was Eastern Emperor family's leader, Eastern Emperor Jieshang, and the other was Jiang family's leader, Jiang Wuyu. Jiang Wuyu scooped a bowl of clear spring water and poured it into the bamboo cups of the 2 old men, then said softly, but then again, this ant's final tribulation should be the love tribulation, right? Looking at the time, it hasn't even been half a year, right? Brother Jiang, which do you think is more painful, short or long? Eastern Emperor Jieshang asked softly, then picked up a black chess piece at the side and placed it down. Jiang Wuyu looked at Jiang Wuyu, then picked up a white chess piece with his index and middle fingers. When a relationship reaches a certain level, it doesn't matter if it's long or short. Perhaps it's more painful if it's short, but if it's long, it'll be forgotten. Then do you still remember her? Eastern Emperor Jieshang asked softly. The white chess piece in Jiang Wuyu's hand trembled for a moment, then lightly placed it down. A beauty has already passed away, and even if I want to forget her, I still can't. This love tribulation is truly the most difficult of all tribulations. I wonder if this ant will be able to face it calmly. Eastern Emperor Jieshang placed a black chess piece down and said faintly. Jiang Wuyu took a sip of the clear spring water and said softly, how many women have been destroyed by this love tribulation? It all depends on fate now. Sometimes being heartless isn't a bad thing. What is love in the world? Jiang Wuyu let out a long sigh, seemingly recalling his own love tribulation. Eastern Emperor Jieshang smiled. Without painstaking love, one wouldn't be able to sigh like you. Don't talk about me. Isn't your love tribulation the same as yours? Jiang Wuyu also reminisced for a while. After so many years had passed, Jiang Wuyu had long seen through his love tribulation. Eastern Emperor Jieshang smiled in self-mockery and didn't say anything. However, in the small city with a courtyard, all of the residents could feel a sacred feeling, and all of them knelt down towards a tall building in the middle of the city. Everyone's face was filled with deep joy. Ant finally became a deity. Originally, I thought that it would take at least 100 years for Ant to become a deity, but who would have thought that in less than half a year, Ant would successfully become a deity? 9 provinces and 5 seas first deity, deity Mengyao. However, on top of the tall building, a woman was sitting cross-legged. This woman was very beautiful. Very beautiful. She wasn't someone else. She was precisely PFFF. A mouthful of blood sprayed out from Mengyao's mouth, and the blood splattered onto the wooden board. Mengyao gasped for breath. Her left hand was supporting herself on the wooden board, and her right hand was holding onto her chest. It hurts, my heart hurts, Mengyao. At this moment, the wooden door was pushed open, and a woman appeared. This woman was precisely Mengyao's cousin Mengli. Mengyao waved her hand. I'm fine. End of this chapter. Chapter 1162. Looking at the pool of blood on the ground, Mengli was very worried. With her brows wrinkled, she asked, Mengyao, this time. Before Mengli could finish, Mengyao said softly, let me sit alone for a while. Seeing Mengyao like this, Mengli knew that love tribulations were painful. Mengli didn't try to persuade her, and slowly left the room to let Mengyao calm down. Right now, her thoughts must be very chaotic. Mengyao wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and slowly stood up, subconsciously touching her pocket. He took out a white cloth and slowly opened it. There was a pink lollipop inside. Mengyao held it in her mouth as she stared at the sky. You owe me. Give them back to me. Thinking back to the past few months, Mengyao felt as if someone was tearing her heart apart. Yi Juetian. I trust you so much. But you treat me like this. And Gongyu, Yi is a stupid woman. But I, Mengyao, am not stupid. You deliberately made me cause trouble today, because you wanted me to die. So it turns out that what you've shown was all hypocrisy. You won't die. How can I dispel the hatred in my heart? Mengyao put the lollipop in her mouth back into a handkerchief and wrapped it up properly. Everyone said that love tribulations were hard to deal with. It would make people wish they were dead. Yes. Pain. Even if I become a god, my heart will still feel pain. Yi Juetian. You're so cruel to me. Mengli. Mengyao called out softly. Mengli pushed the door open and entered. She stood behind Mengyao and leaned forward slightly. Mengyao, are you feeling all right? Bring me the blood sun cleansing flower. Mengli furrowed her brows and asked in puzzlement. Mengyao, what do you want the blood yang purification flower for? That is, don't ask anymore. I don't want to owe others, but others owe me. You must return it. Mengyao coldly said. She had wasted the Empress Dowager's medicine, and she didn't have much time left. This was her fault, she would pay for it. But those who bullied me, none of them will have it easy. But the blood sun purifying flower is passed down from generation to generation. I'm afraid. If there's anything, I will bear it myself. Go and get it. All right, calm down, Mengyao. Mengli advised in a low voice. She felt that Mengyao had suffered a lot. Otherwise, why would she have such a reaction? She had even vomited blood after returning. Mengyao, I don't care what you're going to do, but I still hope that you can rest for a few days. Your current condition isn't very good. No. Mengyao nodded before sitting down cross-legged. If she didn't vent her anger, she wouldn't be able to swallow it. Inside Leisure Bar, Yihua had already watched cartoons for the entire morning. After switching off the television, Yihua said lightly, let's go back. During this entire morning, Yihua reflected on his actions. During this period of time, my temper has become a lot more irritable, and my thinking also lacks judgment. Although this matter caused Yihua to suffer a setback, it was also a profound lesson that would allow Yihua to find out his own inadequacies, and from there, improve his own inadequacies, allow himself to become more and more perfect, and not allow his judgment to be affected by some emotions. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji supported Qin Yutong. We are still in the middle of a Cold War. It would be inappropriate for us to be too concerned about Qin Yutong. Qin Yutong was also speechless. He was obviously worried to death, yet he still wanted to save face. Brother-in-law, are you all right? Qin Yutong asked concernedly. It's been a long time since I've seen brother-in-law so dejected, and my heart ached for him. Yihua shook his head, expressing that he was all right. Right now, Donghuang Baiji couldn't bear it anymore. In actuality, she had wanted to talk about this problem since a long time ago. Yihua, do you know that your ideals right now are very bad? When did you start to have the idea that two people are of equal status? Although Yi is just an ordinary person, her bravery is even stronger than those sect masters and sect masters. You are too shallow. Seeing that Donghuang Baiji had already spoken, Qingye also had to express her opinion. What Baiji said is right, Yihua. You are already looking down on others regarding this matter. Thinking back then, do you know who I am? Do you know who Baiji is? Didn't you still have sex with us without saying anything? At that time, did you ever think that we are worthy of you, the Supreme Overlord? Yihua, you really have to properly reflect on yourself. Ever since you became the emperor, you have changed a lot. You are now the same as those emperors on television. After Qingye finished speaking to Donghuang Baiji, she was prepared to be lectured by Yihua. Hearing that, Yihua remained silent for a long time. In the end, he said lightly, let's go back and see how little Tian is doing. After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared from the sofa. Qingye and the others were very puzzled. This act tough King Yi is not going to flip out? He wanted to hurry back and see how his mother-in-law was doing. After such a thing happened, his mother-in-law should be feeling terrible. Yi's death simply made everyone unhappy. Qingye and the others arrived at Lu Jing's palace. Qian Yuqing was by Lu Jing's side, and Daji was serving her. However, Lu Jing's complexion was not very good. It was a little pale, but it was very rosy before. Mother, what happened to you? Qingya hurriedly walked forward and held onto Lu Jing's hand. Lu Jing revealed a gentle smile. It's okay. Mother is fine. Donghuang Baiji looked towards Qian Yuqing. The meaning of her question was very obvious. However, Qian Yuqing's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. Her mother was also grieved when she saw how sad little Tian was, causing the poison to spread even faster. Just a while ago, I drank another bottle of Spirit Spring, and only then did I feel slightly better. However, right now there wasn't much Spirit Spring left. If I still can't find the antidote, I'm afraid that I'll be in danger. Silly child, mother is very well. Lu Jing consoled her daughters-in-law. Lu Jing knew that her illness had already reached its end. Mother, I'll go and look for Yi Hua to think of a way. Qingya couldn't be bothered with the Cold War anymore. Right now, only Yi Hua can save her mother. However, Yi Hua also had no other way. There was no progress in Zhu Tian's research, and the only person who could solve the problem, Qing Su, had also disappeared. Lu Jing held onto Qingya's hand. Don't go, Yi Hua is already very unhappy today. Don't let mother's illness bother him anymore. Everyone was like this. Even if they were sick, they wouldn't want to tell their son about it, in case their son would worry about them. But mother, we can't drag this on any longer. Donghuang Baiji said anxiously, and her eyes were already red. Forget it then, you all can accompany mother and have a chat. Lu Jing said with a slight smile. In actuality, being able to see that Yi Hua didn't die was already enough for her to feel relieved. Being able to see little Tian getting married was already a blessing from the heavens. The four daughters-in-law could only tightly hold on to their mother-in-law's hand. Even if their strength was extraordinary, when they encountered some rare illnesses, they were completely helpless. Right now Yi Hua found Yi Juetian through Yi Zizi. Yi Juetian was currently in an inn. This inn was the place that Yi stayed in back then, and to Yi Juetian, this inn was a place that had commemorative value. Are you alright? Yi Hua asked Yi Zizi. End of chapter. Chapter 1163. Yi Zizi said respectfully, Your Honor, he is still fine, it's just that he hasn't come out yet. And you can go back and rest. Yi Hua said with his hands behind his back. All right. This subordinate will take his leave. After saying that, Yi Zizi disappeared. Yi Hua pushed open the door and entered into the room, and saw that his little brother was currently drinking cup after cup, and a blush had already appeared on his little brother's face. Yi Hua did not say anything and just sat in front of his brother, then poured himself a cup of wine. The two brothers drank in silence, and neither of them spoke first. Little Tian, Yi is indeed a good girl, just a little stupid. Yi Hua said faintly. Although I have clarified that I am not a spy, it is still a fact that I have wasted my mother's life-saving medicine. Yi Juetian revealed a bleak smile. Big brother, I just like her stupidity. I've never seen a girl like her before. She's so stupid that it breaks my heart. Perhaps, I shouldn't have forced you from the very beginning, Yi Hua said in a low voice. Just now, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's words had awakened the main Supreme Overlord. When did I, the Supreme Overlord, become that kind of person? Could it be that my mind has been affected by the riches and honor in front of me, and I feel that only powerful women are worthy of my younger brother? Or could it be that only powerful women are worthy of marrying into the family? I'm not thinking for my younger brother, I'm thinking for myself. I believe that only the strong are qualified to enter the Yi clan. However, was Qingyo a powerful expert back then? She's just a boss, a woman who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Didn't I like her back then? For her, he had put down his pride a few times. What's the difference between Yi and Qingya from back then? Yi is fine on my own, but it won't work on my little brother. Sometimes, only when something has happened, would one know what is wrong. Right now, Yi Hua could be considered to have realized that he shouldn't have forcefully imposed his own wishes onto his younger brother. Of course, there was also the children. Back then, when I let them go out, I also carried a bit of selfishness within me. However, the Supreme Overlord's intention was good. It was just that he used the wrong method. Yi Juetian slowly raised his head and looked at his big brother in front of him. He cried out miserably, Big brother, it's too late to say anything now. Yi is already dead. Yihua patted on his younger brother's shoulder, then picked up the wine pot and poured a cup of wine. Come, let's drink till we're drunk. The two brothers drank without restraint. They didn't use any magic to disperse it. They just drank with the bodies of ordinary people. It was very rare for Yihua to get drunk, and it could be said that he had never gotten drunk before. Today he was accompanying his little brother to get drunk, and he was also letting himself indulge for once. His mother's illness, Wei Cheng's disappearance, Qing Su's escape with Dou Fusher, and of course Yi's death. The two brothers were completely drunk, and had begun to let themselves loose. Furthermore, he wasn't doing it in his room, but on the streets. The surrounding people were simply dumbstruck. His Majesty and His Highness. Which one is the Majesty? How did he get so drunk? The news quickly spread to the palace, and when Qingye and the others heard about it, black lines appeared on their foreheads. Yihua and Yi Juetian are both drunk? What was going on? And you are even peeing on the streets. Do you not want your dignity as an emperor anymore? Qingye and Donghuang Baiji hurriedly left the palace, and Gongyu followed behind them as well. However, on the street, Xiao Tian, big brother will bring you to the brothel to play. Yihua held on to his little brother's shoulder and said happily, Big brother, I want a dozen. All right, let us brothers fight one-on-one. Yihua said drunkenly, and a drunken smile could be seen on his face. It was very rare for Yihua to be in such a state. The surrounding people were all discussing. His Majesty brought Prince to a brothel. My God. I wonder if applying to be a courtesan queen would be of any use or not. I really want to be rubbed against by the brothers together. However, right when Yihua and Yi Juetian were about to enter, Qingye and the others finally arrived, and they brought Yihua and Yi Juetian along as they disappeared from the spot. The girls standing at the entrance of the brothel had been extremely excited just a moment ago, but suddenly, they had disappeared. It was as if they had reached the pinnacle of their lives, only to fall from the sky. That kind of feeling of loss was incomparably painful. In the imperial palace, they appeared again. Yihua took a look at Qingye and Donghuang Baiji who were beside him, then immediately hugged them into his embrace and kissed them. Wives, when did you two arrive? Qingye and Donghuang Baiji could smell a strong smell of alcohol, and both of them wrinkled their brows. He actually brought his younger brother to that kind of place. Shameless. Meanwhile, Yi Juetian, who was at the side, was being supported by Gongyu. However, Gongyu wasn't as lucky as Yihua. Why did you only arrive now? Big brother was preparing to bring me to a brothel just now. Along with Yi Juetian's words, the smile on Gongyu's face gradually disappeared. He is already so drunk, yet his mind is still filled with Yi. Yi is already dead. It is impossible for her to appear again. Yihua looked at his younger brother and smiled. Little Tian, chasing a girl is a skill. Do you know how Big Brother managed to chase after your sister-in-law? Big Brother, please teach your little brother. Yi Juetian cupped his hands and laughed loudly. Yihua laughed loudly. All right. In actuality, the skill lies in a single word. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji immediately felt that something was wrong. That is to do it. This way, they will be able to be obedient. Isn't that right, wife? Qingye immediately covered Yihua's mouth. This scoundrel, to actually talk nonsense when he is drunk. It is fortunate that we are not in a place with many people. If not, we would have lost face. Donghuang Baiji said to Gongyu. Bring little Tian back and take good care of him. And I understand, sister-in-law. Gongyu nodded her head seriously. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji supported Yihua back. Meanwhile, Yi Juetian leaned onto Gongyu's shoulder and said drunkenly, just now Big Brother said, can I do that to you? Gongyu simply wanted to whip Yihua's corpse. Even though this woman is dead, she is still forcefully occupying my man. Stabilizing her good temper, Gongyu laughed tenderly. Yay, I am your woman, of course I can accompany you. You are the best, I will love you for my entire life. Yi Juetian said in a low voice, then completely fainted. Gongyu's face was gloomy as she tightly clenched her fists. Damned lowly slut. Inside Yihua's bedroom, something that made Qingye and Donghuang Baiji depressed was currently happening. I am not going to take off my clothes. I am going to sleep. You guys don't need to care about me. Yihua shouted out with a coquettish tone as he used the blanket to cover himself. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. Is this Yihua or not? To actually speak with this kind of tone, this is simply ruining our worldview. Darling, be obedient. Let's take off our clothes, take a hot bath, and then go to sleep. Qingye coaxed Yihua as if she was coaxing her son. Back then, Qingye also coaxed her son like this. Meanwhile, Yihua, who was hiding inside the blanket, let out a whining sound. This caused Qingye and Donghuang Baiji to be astonished. Yihua actually turned into a whining monster. End of this chapter. Chapter 1164. Donghuang Baiji placed her hands on her waist and shouted, Yihua, if you are still not obedient, I am going to beat you up. Needless to say, it was really effective. Yihua, who was on the bed, immediately became quiet. Qingye opened the blanket and discovered that Yihua was actually curled up into a ball, as if he was very afraid. Originally, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt that Yihua was playing around, but they discovered that Yihua was actually trembling. Such a reaction caused the two wives to feel puzzled. I am so scared, Yihua muttered. Hearing Yihua's words, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji became absent-minded. In their impression, when had Yihua ever been scared? No matter how strong the enemy was, he would always face it calmly and use his strength to crush the enemy. But today Yihua actually said such words. This made Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's heart ache. Recently, Yihua had been carrying too many things on his shoulders. The two women sat on the bed and hugged this man who had just let go of his defense. Don't be afraid, we will always be by your side, Qingye said tenderly, and her eyes couldn't help but turn red. Donghuang Baiji was the same as she lightly caressed Yihua's hair. Yihua muttered, I am scared. I am scared that I won't be able to save my mother. I just saw her. I don't want to lose her so quickly. We will find a way. We will definitely find a way. Qingye was incomparably sad. Yihua's fear wasn't from his enemies, but from losing his family. No matter how strong Yihua was, he would still try his best to make up for the loss in his life. That kind of loss would make one wish that they were dead. And Yi Juetian was lost today. There is also Wei Chang. That fellow is so strong, yet he disappeared just like that. Don't you know that I am very worried about you? Although Yihua didn't say it, he was actually very worried about Wei Chang. In order to maintain his face as a supreme overlord, he didn't express his worry. Is it easy to be a boss? There is also that Qing Su. I really can't do anything to him. Yihua muttered. This matter was pressing on his chest, and he was completely powerless. This world is so big, where am I supposed to find him? Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, as if she was comforting her son. Yihua, don't be discouraged, we will slowly overcome this difficulty. And don't be anxious, have a good sleep. Tomorrow, we will work hard together. However, Yihua, who was in her bosom, was already letting out a smooth breathing sound. Lowering her head to take a look, this fellow had already fallen asleep. The two of them took a look at each other, then took off Yihua's clothes, wiped his body, and let out a sigh of relief. Let him have a good sleep. Recently, Yihua has been too tired, Qingye said in a low voice, fearing that she would disturb Yihua. Donghuang Baiji nodded her head, and the two of them quietly exited the bedroom. That night, Yihua had a dream. In the leisure bar, everyone was celebrating the arrival of the new year. Everyone had come. His mother was hugging Ali and the others happily. Wei Chang, who went missing, came, and he was even carrying a child, and he seemed to be very happy. There was also that damned fatty Qing Su who was bragging to Do Fusher with a silly smile on his face. Even the dead Yi appeared. Everyone was present, and the scene was very warm. Yihua, Yihua, Yihua. In the dream, Yihua heard someone calling out to him. Who is it that is calling out to me? Yihua looked to his left and right, but everyone seemed to be in their own world, as if he didn't exist at all. Yihua, Yihua, Yihua. The voice seemed to be very urgent, and there was even a tone of fear in it. Along with his body shaking violently, Yihua suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Qian Yuqing, who had a frightened expression on her face. So that was just a dream. Rubbing onto his forehead, Yihua asked faintly, Yuqing, what's wrong? Qian Yuqing's eyes were filled with shock, and she said gravely, Yihua Yi she. Yihua was puzzled. She came back. What? Yihua immediately sat up. How is this possible? Didn't Yi die? How is it possible for her to come back? Could this be a dream as well? At this moment, Qingya and Qing Yutong ran over, and their eyes were filled with shock. Yihua looked at Qingya and asked gravely, Yi came back? Qingya nodded her head, but Qing Yutong said gravely, but Yi, she seems to be different from before. Donghuang Baiji let out a sigh, then walked over slowly. She came back to settle the debt. Yihua tightly wrinkled his brows. Half an hour ago, I should be calling her deity Meng Yao now. The current Meng Yao was no longer that down-and-out Yi from before. She was dressed in a pure white dress with hundreds of butterflies on it, a multicolored flower brocade draped over her shoulders, and a heavenly phoenix hairpin on her head. This was the real Yi. She was completely different from the Yi who was dressed in a palace-made dress. The current Yi no longer had a smile on her face, and a cold aura was hovering around her body. Meng Yao slightly raised her head and looked towards the city wall, as if everything that happened just yesterday. Under the astonished gazes of the surrounding people, Meng Yao walked into Wushu Empire. Everything felt so familiar. Meng Yao did not anxiously go to the palace. Instead, she came to that street. That day, I was surrounded by a group of children and was being ridiculed. And he was the one who extended a helping hand. But was that really helping hand? It wasn't. Meng Yao continued to walk, and the surrounding people were all discussing in low voices. This woman looks so cold and aloof. Who is she? Meng Yao came to the tavern that she stayed in before, and it was still the same room. Sitting in this familiar room, Meng Yao laughed at herself, laughing at her own stupidity. I have sacrificed so much for this man. But what I got in return was his distrust. Slowly closing her eyes, Meng Yao could still feel the pain and bitterness in her heart. She couldn't help but take out a lollipop and put it in her mouth, and her mood became slightly better. After sitting for a while, Yi disappeared from the room and arrived at the entrance of the palace. Looking at the black armored warriors on both sides of the room and the majestic palace entrance, I, who entered the palace for the first time, felt so happy. That was because I was able to see him. But who knew Meng Yao walked towards the entrance of the palace? The black armored warriors on both sides immediately blocked Meng Yao and shouted, "Back off!" Meng Yao couldn't help but think back to that day. When she came to look for him, she was pushed onto the ground by those black armored warriors over and over again. But now, you all can't push me, Meng Yao, down. The one who should be pushed down is you all. A terrifying aura exploded out from Meng Yao's body, and the 2 rows of black armored warriors all flew out and fell onto the ground. Meng Yao didn't even take a look at them, and walked towards the entrance of the palace. The 2 huge palace doors automatically opened. After walking into the palace, Meng Yao looked at the venue of the wedding ceremony. There was the place where I kneeled down, and there was that heartbroken gaze of his. "Hey, you didn't die?" Just as Meng Yao was reminiscing, Yi Zizi suddenly appeared at the side and asked curiously while sucking on a lollipop. Meng Yao lowered her head and looked at Yi Zizi. I know that this is a person who treats me well, unlike other people. End of this chapter. Chapter 1165. Yes, I'm not dead, Meng Yao said softly. Yi Zizi looked at Meng Yao curiously. Are you here for revenge today? Today, I'm here to make up for it, and also to collect a debt, Meng Yao said in a low voice. A murderous aura began to spread out in all directions, as if telling everyone in the palace, I, Meng Yao, am coming. He was here to seek justice for Yi. Yi Zizi pursed her lips. You're very strong now. Why is it like this? Are you undergoing a tribulation? You could say that. Meng Yao smiled. She hadn't expected this little girl to know about tribulation. Seeing Meng Yao's smile, Yi Zizi also smiled. You should get justice for Yi, but I can't stand on your side. I understand, Meng Yao said softly. Good luck. Yi Zizi rarely smiled, but when she saw the current Yi, she was still very happy. Meng Yao nodded. Yi Zizi skipped away, but then she turned around and asked, Have you finished your lollipops? Not yet. Oh, ask me for more when you're done. I have a lot here. All right. Yi Zizi didn't say anything else and left. However, very quickly, Qingye and the others all arrived at the scene. Yi Hua's subordinates were also present as well. They were all attracted by the aura just now. However, when they saw the resurrected Yi, everyone felt puzzled. Yi. Qian Yuqing exclaimed. How was this possible? Yesterday, Yi had turned into fragments and disappeared before his eyes. Why did she appear again today? Furthermore, it was as if he had become a completely different person. If not for his appearance, he would be a completely different person. Both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were unable to believe what was happening before their eyes. Yi who was in front of them was actually so cold. Yi is already dead. My name is Meng Yao. Meng Yao said softly. These empresses treated her very well. And even though she rarely interacted with the others, they didn't look down on her. Qian Yuqing was very confused. Your name is Meng Yao? What about Yi? Yi is me, but my name is Meng Yao. This explanation seemed to make everyone understand something. Absolute Heaven asked in a probing manner. Are you undergoing tribulation? You could say that, Meng Yao said indifferently. Qing Yutong asked curiously. Meng Yao, why did you come back this time? Perhaps this was the question that everyone should be concerned about. The killing intent that Meng Yao had just unleashed clearly indicated that she was here for revenge. But then again, this sort of thing was understandable. During the tribulation, it was unavoidable to be bullied. Once the tribulation was over, the magnanimous people wouldn't care, but the petty people would come to settle the score. What's more, Meng Yao was a woman, and she was going through the tribulation of love. Make up for it and collect the debt, Meng Yao said solemnly. Everyone could understand this, but what did he mean by making up for it? Qian Yuqing asked in confusion. Meng Yao, what do you want to make up for? Yi made a mistake. She wasted the Empress Dowager's medicine. I brought the antidote today. It can cure the Empress Dowager's illness. What? Everyone cried out in surprise. If the Empress Dowager's illness could be cured, that would be great news. The four wives were incomparably excited. They didn't expect that Yi would bring the antidote, repaying evil with good. But you owe me. I also want to take it back, Meng Yao said in a deep voice. Donghuang Baiji asked gravely, Meng Yao, what do you want to take back? I want Gongyu's life. Meng Yao had already made up her mind to kill. She had come here today to save the Empress Dowager and make up for her mistakes. The second was to kill Gongyu. This woman had harmed him time and time again. If he didn't kill him, he would feel terrible in his heart. Everyone became silent. Gongyu is his honor's little brother's woman. I want to kill this woman. But this woman is also able to save his honor's mother's life. How could this be resolved? Everyone was unable to make a choice, and even Qingye and the others were unable to make a choice for Yi Hua. This was a thorny problem. Meng Yao, wait a moment, we can't make the decision on this matter, Qingye said gravely. I still have to tell Yi Hua. But with Yi Hua's personality? He didn't expect that the incident yesterday would happen again today. Qian Yuqing had already disappeared from where she was, preparing to go and tell Yi Hua. Qingye and the others also followed after them. Meanwhile, Absolute Heaven's subordinates frowned slightly as they looked at Meng Yao. This woman came prepared. Next, it was Qian Yuqing who woke Yi Hua up. Yi Hua wore his clothes while feeling puzzled, then walked out of the bedroom. However, the four women didn't tell Yi Hua that although Meng Yao was able to cure his mother's illness, she still wanted Gongyu's life. In the eyes of the four women, they felt that Meng Yao wanted to kill Gongyu because she was jealous. However, what they didn't know was that if not for Gongyu adding fuel to the fire, Meng Yao wouldn't have appeared at that kind of occasion. Very quickly, Yi Hua appeared in front of Meng Yao. Looking at Yi who was standing in front of him, Yi Hua was a bit stupefied. Is this really the Yi who died yesterday? However, looking at Yi who was in front of him, Yi Hua felt a kind of guilt. This was an emotion that Yi Hua had never felt before. I, the Supreme Overlord, also have a day where I feel guilty? Meng Yao didn't want to speak too much nonsense and said lightly, I am able to cure Empress Dowager. Yi Hua turned his head around and took a look at Donghuang Baiji. Didn't you say that she came here to settle the score? Are you sure? Yihua asked gravely. His mother's illness was already imminent, and he mustn't delay any longer. If it was possible, he would do anything. I am very sure, but I still want Gong Yu's life. Gong Yu's life? Yihua said gravely. Did she want to kill Gong Yu because she was jealous? That's right, because when I was this Gong Yu tried to frame me multiple times. She must die. Yihua asked gravely. What evidence do you have? Confront her face to face. Meng Yao said calmly. Yihua nodded his head. I can give you a chance, just a chance. All right, I want to go and cure Empress Dowager right now. Yihua nodded his head. I shall let Yi give it a try. After all, she is also a kind of hope. After Meng Yao left, Zhu Tian came in front of Yihua and said respectfully, Your Honor. What's wrong? She was facing her tribulation earlier. Zhu Tian said in a low voice. And then? Zhu Tian said respectfully, Your Honor, from the strength that she displayed, I'm afraid that she has already surpassed the supreme overlord that we are familiar with. After hearing that, Yihua immediately wrinkled his brows. You mean to say that the supreme overlord can still become stronger? That's right, I'm afraid that this Meng Yao is living in a plane that we are not aware of. Yihua suddenly thought of something, and that was the rumor about the surname Donghuang that he heard in the deity's realm's palace. I'm afraid that there is a connection between them. Got it, let's wait and see first. Seems like my title is going to rise. However, I am already used to this title, and I am not used to changing it. End of this chapter. Chapter 1166. Zhu Tian smiled and said, Your Honor, it is just a title, there is no need to worry. Let's deal with the current situation first before thinking about other things. Yihua said lightly. Yes, Your Honor. Yihua immediately rushed towards his mother's bedroom. Meanwhile, inside the bedroom, Lu Jing was also incomparably shocked when she saw Yi who had revived. However, this Yi had a different kind of flavor to her. Lu Jing didn't really like this Yi and felt that the previous Yi was better. Although she was stupid, she was very sincere. Meng Yao looked at the Empress Dowager in front of her and said lightly, Empress Dowager, wasting your medicine is my fault. Therefore, as compensation, I will cure your illness, and you will no longer have any worries. At this moment, Yihua walked into the room and stood at the side, not saying anything. Yi, what are you? Lu Jing asked puzzledly. Empress Dowager, I am not Yi right now, I am Meng Yao right now. Meng Yao, Lu Jing mumbled. I still feel that Yi sounds better. Meng Yao didn't say anything and stretched out her palm. A bright red flower petal condensed on her palm and Meng Yao said lightly, This is the Bloody Sun cleansing flower. It can cure all poisons in the world. Yihua asked faintly, It is actually a flower, why is it a flower petal? Meng Yao explained slowly, There is only one Bloody Sun cleansing flower, and it has 11 petals. This is the last petal, and there is no second petal in the world. Yihua remained silent, and looked towards Zhu Tian who was at the side. Zhu Tian had done some research on this. Zhu Tian nodded his head. I can give it a try. Yi Yuanqing who was standing at the side deeply wrinkled her eyebrows. Is this flower petal really so mystical? I have never heard of it before. Empress Dowager, please keep this flower petal in your mouth. Meng Yao said lightly and stretched out the flower petal in her hand. Don't look at how Meng Yao seemed to be talking about an ordinary item right now. However, if the news of this Bloody Sun cleansing flower were to be spread out, everyone would definitely go crazy and fight for it. There were a lot of people whose lives were on the line, and there were even more people who were waiting for the medicine to save their lives. The value of this flower was even higher than the things in Yihua's warehouse. However, the reason why Yi took out the Bloody Sun cleansing flower was because she wanted to cut off her identity as Yi and not owe anyone anymore. Lu Jing took a look at Yihua, and Yihua nodded his head. Lu Jing let out a sigh of relief, picked up the flower petal in Meng Yao's hand, and put it in her mouth. A refreshing feeling spread throughout his body in an instant. This refreshing feeling quickly solidified, and his body felt warm as if he was bathing in the sun. Yihua looked at the weak red light that was emitting out from his mother's body, and wrinkled his brows as he waited quietly. Suddenly, a cloud of strange green smoke emerged from Lu Jing's head. Reaching out with his hand, Absolute Heaven made a grabbing motion, and a green smoke floated above his palm. What poison is this? Yihua asked gravely. Zhu Tian shook his head. If Qing Su is here, he should know. Then let's keep it and show it to Qing Su when he returns. Yes. Taking out a bottle, Absolute Heaven guided the cyan smoke into the bottle. However, the cyan smoke seemed to have a life of its own as it crazily smashed about inside the bottle. Yihua felt that the person who poisoned his mother was definitely extraordinary. Furthermore, to be able to master a poison that even I am unable to cure, this person's background is even more extraordinary. The main point is, why did he poison his mother? Why? Lu Jing's complexion became more and more rosy, and the wrinkles on her face gradually disappeared. Some of her white hair also became black, and it seemed as if she had become younger by tens of years. After a long time, Lu Jing opened her eyes. She felt that her entire body was relaxed. It has been a long time since I felt this way. No Mingyao, thank you, Lu Jing said with a smile. Even my son is unable to cure my mother, and yet, this Mingyao is able to cure my mother. This is truly unbelievable. Yihua walked to his mother's side and asked with concern, Mother, are you feeling better? And I am feeling much better. Lu Jing patted on the back of her son's hand and consoled. Zhu Tian, come over and check on her. Yihua still needed to confirm that Lu Jing was fine. Zhu Tian walked respectfully to Lu Jing's side, and a white aura immediately wrapped around Lu Jing. After a while, Zhu Tian said respectfully, There is nothing wrong with Empress Dowager, she has completely recovered. Yihua let out a heavy breath. As long as my mother's illness is cured, the stone in my heart will be put down. Qian Yuqing was very happy. The illness that had been bothering my mother for thousands of years has finally been cured. Yihua looked at Meng Yao, and suddenly, he didn't know what to say. This woman returned evil with good, and ruthlessly slapped my face. I, the Supreme Overlord, have indeed underestimated her. Yihua was also a person who was able to let go of things. Since she had saved my mother, I naturally have to say what I have to say. Meng Yao, thank you. I owe you a favor. Yihua said calmly. To be able to save my mother, I, the Supreme Overlord, naturally wouldn't treat you unfairly. This was the first time that Qinya heard Yihua thanking someone. After all, the number of people that could make Yihua thank someone was very few, and the number of people that could make Yihua thank someone so sincerely was even fewer. However, Qinya also discovered that the current Yihua had become more mature. If it was in the past, Yihua would definitely be the kind of person who cared about his face no matter what. This kind of Yihua is the kind of man that I like, someone who dares to take responsibility for his actions, and is never hypocritical. Meng Yao said calmly, There is no need to thank me. This is something that I should be compensating you for. Now, isn't it time for you to compensate me? After hearing what Meng Yao said, Lu Jing was confused. Meng Yao, what kind of compensation do you want? Tell me. I will do my best to satisfy you. Meng Yao looked towards Yihua. What do you want me to say? Yihua said gravely. If you were framed and the evidence is conclusive, I will allow you to deal with it freely. All right. Go and call Yi Juetian and gong you over. Yihua said coldly. For this Meng Yao to be so confident, it seems like there is someone behind this matter. Gong Yu? Is she that daring? Meng Yao said coldly. No need. I will personally go and call them over. After finished speaking, Meng Yao disappeared from where she was. Of course, she knew where Yi Juetian's bedroom was. Yihua, what is going on? Meng Yao went to look for Yi Juetian? Lu Jing asked worriedly. Yihua shook his head. Mother, Meng Yao went to look for Gong Yu and seek justice. Let us go and take a look. We have to treat this matter seriously. Qinya and the others nodded their heads. We indeed cannot be careless. I will go as well, Lu Jing said lightly as she stood up. Right now, her body was very stable, unlike in the past where she had a feeling that she was on the verge of falling. Yihua brought everyone and disappeared from the room, and arrived outside of Yi Juetian's bedroom. At this moment, the door was already pushed open. Seems like Meng Yao had already walked in. Meng Yao had indeed walked in, and she was even looking at the man and woman on the bed. However, Meng Yao never expected that right after Yi died, you would actually be together with this woman. Yi Juetian, do you still have me in your heart? Do I, Yi, have no place in your heart? Or could it be that the two of you are celebrating my death? Yi Juetian seemed to be able to sense that there was someone beside the bed. He closed his eyes and rubbed his forehead. End of this chapter. Chapter 1167. Yi Juetian slowly opened his eyes, and a blurry figure appeared in front of him. He furrowed his brows and rubbed his eyes. The blurry figure gradually became clear, and as it became clear, the expression on Yi Juetian's face froze. This is Yi. Who was this woman? Why did she look so much like Yi? Yi Juetian did not dare to confirm that Yi did not have this kind of aura. However, this woman's aura was very strong, and even her clothes were very luxurious. Yi had never been like this before. Who are you? Yi Juetian asked curiously. Why did this woman run into his room? Moreover, she was standing beside the bed. Could she be Yi's elder or younger sister? In Yi Juetian's heart, Yi was already dead. So how could she have revived? Moreover, Meng Yao and Yi's auras were very different, so Yi Juetian would not think otherwise. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Meng Yao coldly laughed in her heart. Right now, she was standing in front of him, and he was asking her who she was? At this time, Gong Yu sweetly called out, Ju Tian. Yi Juetian's gaze focused, and a fiery body hugged him from behind. When he turned his head to look, he immediately cried out in surprise. Gong Yu, why are you here? Gong Yu said softly, You're so annoying. You only know how to bully others. When Meng Yao heard this, she wanted nothing more than to skin this woman alive. However, Gong Yu slowly opened her eyes and was shocked to see someone standing beside her bed. When Gong Yu saw the woman in front of her, Gong Yu's pupils gradually shrunk, and with a shocked expression she said, You didn't die. Gong Yu, do you want me dead? Meng Yao asked coldly. At this moment, Yi Juetian was dumbfounded. He looked at Meng Yao in a daze. You're Yi? You survived? Yi is already dead. The one standing in front of you is called me. Meng Yao. Gong Yu's soul had already left her body. Her delicate body was trembling, and all she could think about was why she wasn't dead. Why did he come back? Why did she come back? However, Yi Juetian was even more dumbfounded. Where was he? What was he doing? Why is she sleeping together with Gong Yu? And furthermore, she's the kind that isn't wearing any clothes. Is the one in front of me Yi? Why was this happening? Put on your clothes and come out. Meng Yao said coldly. This was already the second time. The first time might have been Gong Yu's scheme, but this time, was this also part of Gong Yu's plan? Caught red-handed in bed. Yi Juetian. What else do you have to say? I, Meng Yao, must be blind to have fallen for a man like you. Yi Hua and the others stood outside and waited. Seeing Meng Yao walking out with a gloomy face, Yi Hua wrinkled his brows. Little Tian must have been drunk yesterday, right? Could it be just now? Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were also thinking the same thing. The two brothers were both drunk yesterday. Yi Hua is still fine, but could it be that Yi Juetian is not long after? Yi Juetian and Gong Yu walked out. Both of their expressions were not very good. Yi Juetian's mind was still in a daze, while Gong Yu was completely frightened. The smart girl seemed to understand something, and her face turned pale. At this moment, Yi Hua said gravely, Meng Yao, if you have anything to say, just say it. Meng Yao looked at the man she had once loved, and no longer had any lingering feelings for him. She turned her gaze to Gong Yu. When Meng Yao looked at him like that, he became even more uneasy. He felt that Yi had become more imposing today. That kind of killing intent was released without any concealment. This made Gong Yu feel uneasy. At this moment, Yi Juetian asked blankly, Are you really Yi? Everyone did not say anything. For something like this to happen, it might be heaven's will. This means that Yi Juetian and Yi are not fated to be together. Meng Yao said indifferently, It is no longer important whether I am Yi or not. I did not come here today to look for you. You are also not worth me coming here to look for. Yi Juetian was speechless. I only have myself to blame. I can't blame anyone else. Gong Yu, are you going to end your own life, or are you going to let me do it? Meng Yao asked. If not for this woman, I might not have gone to explain myself yesterday, and I might not have been disheartened. If I had stayed in the woodshed the entire time, I might have had a chance to turn things around. However, it was already too late to say anything now. Gong Yu stabilized her state of mind. Right now, I cannot afford to panic. Why do I have to end my own life? Also, who exactly are you? Is it Yi or someone else? Gong Yu was a smart person. I cannot continue being passive. I have to take the initiative to counterattack. Big Brother Emperor is standing at the side, which means that he is currently observing. As long as Yi does not have any evidence, I will be fine. Luckily, all of the evidence is gone. Yi, even if you are able to come back to life, so what? If you want to kill me, Gong Yu, do it in your next life. Meng Yao knew that Gong Yu was cunning. If not, when she was still Yi, she would have been tricked time and time again, and believed this hypocritical woman. I am Yi. However, my real name is Meng Yao. Meng Yao said indifferently. There is nothing to hide. This is my identity. Hearing that Yi admitted her identity, Yi Juetian's face became even paler. I am really unworthy. What face do I have to face Yi and do things that let Yi down? Gong Yu said with a slight smile. So it is Meng Yao, why are you pretending to be the weak Yi? Although Gong Yu's counterattack was very sharp, in actuality, everyone wanted to know the answer to this question. Going through tribulation was just Zhu Tian's guess. Meng Yao did not say why she was going through tribulation. However, the current Meng Yao did not plan to hide it anymore, and directly said, because I am going through tribulation. Hearing Meng Yao's words, everyone felt relieved. Normally, when going through tribulation, one would turn into an ordinary person and go through tempering. Everyone seemed to know what tribulation Yi was going through. Lu Jing also never expected that Meng Yao was actually going through tribulation. Truly, one cannot judge a book by its cover. Back then, I still thought that Yi was just an ordinary woman and was not worthy of Xiao Tian. However, only now did I know how powerful Yi was. It should be Xiao Tian who was not worthy of Yi. Qingya and the others had never thought that Yi was going through tribulation. Back then, they were still in favor of Yi Juetian, and Qian Yuqing was even more so. If Yi Juetian and Yi had gotten together back then, how great of a thing would that have been? However, Qingya and the others might not have thought that Yi was going through tribulation. Even if there was no tribulation, there would still be another tribulation that would separate them. If not, how could it be called a tribulation? This was all a plot that was arranged by the heavens. After Meng Yao finished speaking, she asked faintly, Gong Yu, you plotted against me time and time again. Do you know your crime? Meng Yao, why would I plot against you? Did you misunderstand something? Gong Yu asked confusedly. Her expression was very on point. When a person is lying, their acting skills would instantly rise, and their intelligence would also directly soar to the top. Meng Yao laughed lightly. Look at this Gong Yu. Even now, she is still stubbornly resisting. You are the one who told me. The matter about me being a spy. I didn't know about it before. Meng Yao said lightly. End of this chapter. Chapter 1168. Yihua's face sunk. I have never told anyone that Yi is a spy. Just now, I was still wondering how Yi found out about this. Could it be that Gong Yu was the one who told her? Gong Yu sighed softly. Yi, when did I tell you about this? Don't spout nonsense. Meng Yao knew that Gong Yu would deny it, so she continued. You asked me to appear yesterday and explain that I'm not a spy. You comforted me by telling me that it would be more effective if I explained it in front of everyone. But you also know that once I appear and explain this matter, the Emperor will definitely be furious. You don't even need to do anything, just borrow the Emperor's hand to kill me. You even came to induce me to commit suicide. That poison was also given to me by you. Hearing Meng Yao's words, everyone was shocked. Who would have thought that Gong Yu was involved in all of this? So Yi was a victim. Right now, Yihua's expression became grave. If the entire matter was manipulated by Gong Yu from behind the scenes, then that would mean that Gong Yu is challenging my bottom line. Gong Yu actually schemed against me, and the one who caused me to lose all face is actually Gong Yu. Hearing Yi's words, Yi Juetian immediately believed her. He turned to look at Gong Yu and coldly asked, Gong Yu, you're not a good person. Isn't that right? Gong Yu immediately put on a wronged look. Ju Tian, could it be that you don't believe me? I've always been helping you. How could I possibly harm you like this? Meng Yao laughed when she saw that Gong Yu was still putting on an act. Gong Yu, you're the best at making use of other people's kindness. I'd like to ask everyone, if I didn't have anyone to help me, would I have been able to get into the crowd of palace maids so easily? Even the clothes were prepared by Gong Yu in advance for that kind of occasion. I didn't expect you to accuse me like this. Did you misunderstand something? Absolute Heaven and I are already innocent, so don't be jealous, okay? I beg of you. She hugged Yi Juetian's leg tightly, as if she wanted Yi Juetian to say a few good words for her. However, Yi Juetian trusted Yi and didn't say anything. This made Gong Yu feel very sad. I've done so many bad things, but it's all for you. Do you think I want to do those bad things? I, Gong Yu, have never done such a shameful thing before. Why can't you speak up for me? Even one sentence would be good. Do you think I've sacrificed less than her? No. I, Gong Yu, have sacrificed much more. From a kind woman, she turned into a vicious woman. You forced me to do this. You only have yourself to blame. You're the one who came between me and Absolute Heaven. If you don't appear, how could Absolute Heaven possibly love you? Because he was jealous, he came back to kill someone. This reason seems to be quite sufficient. Yi Hua didn't express his opinion and listened quietly. Meng Yao felt that she had never met such a shameless woman who could turn black into white. Gong Yu, when I was in prison, after having sex with him, you even purposely used the copper mirror to let me see it, and after that, you even came over to console me. Gong Yu, you are truly so scheming. Is simply being played around by you. And I am even thinking of how to repay you, haha. While speaking, Meng Yao was laughing at herself. Hearing Meng Yao's laughter, everyone felt a sense of helplessness and sorrow. Yi Juetian once again looked towards Gong Yu, who was hugging onto his leg, seemingly asking if such a thing really happened. Absolute Heaven, I didn't do such a thing, I really didn't. I also don't know why Yi would want to fabricate such a thing, I really don't know. Gong Yu's tears flowed down like rain, vividly portraying the feeling of a wronged woman. Gong Yu, who was sobbing, looked towards Meng Yao and said while choking with sobs, I treated you so well, when you were on the verge of death. I was the one who came to save you. You can't wrongly accuse me like this. That's just because you didn't have an excuse to kill me, that's all. You have always been looking for an opportunity, and yesterday was the best opportunity. You let everyone know that Wushu Empire's emperor forced a palace maid to death. Meng Yao said gravely. Gong Yu's heart sunk, but she still said with sorrow, Nonsense, what evidence do you have to prove it? Gong Yu, you finally said this. I don't have any evidence, because you have always been very cautious when doing things. And you have cleared away all evidence. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Gong Yu let out a sigh of relief, then shouted out towards Yi Hua. Big brother, I was wronged, I am innocent. No matter what, Gong Yu was still Yi Juetian's fiancé, so how could he kill her just because of a few words from an outsider? It was very sloppy. Yi Hua asked gravely. Meng Yao, you don't have any evidence? I don't have proof, but Empress Qian Yuqing does, Meng Yao said. Qian Yuqing was stunned. Since when did she have evidence? Everyone looked at Qian Yuqing. Even Gong Yu looked at Qian Yuqing in disbelief. Since when did sister-in-law have her own evidence? Impossible. He did not leave any traces behind. Meng Yao said softly, Empress, please lend me the heart gem from yesterday. Following Meng Yao's words, everyone came to a sudden realization. Meng Yao indeed did not have any evidence, but the spirit gem was meant to deal with situations like this. When Gong Yu heard about the spirit gem, she was dumbfounded as if she had been struck by lightning. Yesterday, Gong Yu had seen the spirit gem, and because Yi had used it, her identity had been clarified, but today, she used the same method to deal with him. You lowly servant. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have saved you back then. I would have let you die in pain. Qian Yuqing passed the spirit gem into Meng Yao's hands. Meng Yao held onto the spirit gem and walked towards Gong Yu. The grievance on Gong Yu's face completely disappeared, and what replaced it was fear. If Big Brother Emperor were to find out that I was the one manipulating everything behind the scenes, I will definitely die. Yihua looked at Gong Yu, who had a huge change in expression. He already knew the result. I completely didn't expect that Gong Yu was the one manipulating everything behind the scenes. The matter that happened yesterday caused my Wushu empire to become a laughingstock. Everyone said that I am awesome, yet I forced a palace maid who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken to death. I was actually used as a knife by this Gong Yu. This is simply a humiliation. Everyone looked at Gong Yu, who had a huge change in expression, and found it hard to believe. In everyone's eyes, Gong Yu's image was that of a gentle and virtuous woman. I completely didn't expect that Gong Yu actually wanted to borrow Yihua's hand to kill Yi. Yi Juetian looked at Gong Yu, who was beneath his feet, especially that expression of fear. I already know. This woman caused Yi's death. Why does she have to be so cruel? Just how did Yi offend you? You made Yi hate me. You didn't allow me to look for Yi, and you made up such a reason. Now that I think about it, it is truly laughable. If I didn't pay attention to Gong Yu back then, the ending might not have become like this. End of this chapter. Chapter 1169. Yi Juetian shifted his feet, but discovered that Gong Yu was hugging him tightly, very tightly. Of course, Gong Yu could only do this because she felt that only Yi Juetian could save her. Meng Yao stood in front of Gong Yu and stretched out her hand. The heart gem was especially eye-catching in Gong Yu's eyes. Why does such a stone exist in this world? It was all fake. It was all a lie. Gong Yu, prove your innocence. Meng Yao said indifferently, but her eyes were filled with killing intent. Today Gong Yu must die. Gong Yu didn't reach for the heart gem. Qian Yuqing and Yi Yuanqing couldn't help but think of Huang Yin. On that day, he didn't dare to take it because once he took it, all of his lies would be revealed. However, Gong Yu was the same today. Lu Jing sighed softly. Daji, help me back. Yes. Daji respectfully supported Lu Jing and left. Lu Jing no longer wanted to watch. The truth was already in front of her. This woman had harmed his two sons. There was nothing to pity. Looking at Gong Yu, Meng Yao asked, Gong Yu, what's wrong? Prove your innocence and let everyone know that I wanted you dead, because I was jealous. Gong Yu's face was deathly pale, and she did not pay any attention to Meng Yao. She hugged onto Yi Juetian's leg and pleaded, Juetian, I didn't do it. You have to believe me. I really didn't do it. Help me. Help me please. Help me say something, okay? Yi Juetian said gravely. Gong Yu, hold on to the spirit gem and prove yourself. No. This thing is fake. It's fake. You can't believe it. Gong Yu roared, her delicate face contorted into a sinister expression. Looking at her big brother Emperor, who was not too far away, Gong Yu frantically crawled and hugged onto Yihua's leg while begging. Big brother, you have to believe me. I didn't do such a thing. I won't harm you. Gong Yu, who was crying like rain, raised her head and looked towards Yihua. However, there wasn't a single bit of ripple on Yihua's face. This caused Gong Yu to be extremely afraid as she knelt beside Qingya's feet. Sister-in-law, save me. I didn't do it. Qingya remained silent and slowly turned her head away. Gong Yu then kneeled in front of Donghuang Baiji. Sister-in-law, I beg of you, can you help me say something? I beg of you. I am Zhu Tian's fiancé. Why don't you guys help me? Gong Yu crawled in front of Qing Yutong, then crawled in front of Qian Yuqing. However, no one said a single word, because the truth was right in front of their eyes. This woman had turned Voidless Empire's royal family into a heartless empire. And she had even become the joke of the entire northern region, becoming the laughing stock of the people. Just because of that bit of jealousy. Gong Yu's knees were already scraped. She slowly crawled in front of Yi Juetian, raised her head to look at Yi Juetian, and said in a low voice, Juetian, why didn't you guys help me? Why did you join hands with outsiders to bully me? Gong Yu put her hands on the ground, crying loudly. Gradually she stood up, looked at everyone and shouted, It was you who brought me here. You made me leave my parents. You were the ones who forced me to marry him. Now you want me to die. How could I, Gong Yu, resist? Do you know the poison I gave Yi? So it's for myself. I like absolute heaven, I love him. I would do anything for him. But this woman. Yet he appeared between me and absolute heaven. Yi Juetian. Do you even have me in your heart? For you, I went to hell. As for you, yet from start to finish, you never even looked me in the eye. She sacrificed herself for you. Can't you see that I sacrificed myself for you? Why do you only have her in your eyes, and not even a bit of my shadow? Why do you have to be so cruel to me? All of you are bullying an outsider like me. Gong Yu roared and questioned Yi Juetian, revealing all of the grievances in her heart. After hearing what Gong Yu said, Yi Juetian went into a daze. He remembered that back then, he was the one who called Gong Yu over. When he first came over, Yi Juetian felt that Gong Yu was a good girl. However, he didn't expect that Gong Yu would walk step by step into the abyss. Yi Juetian looked at Gong Yu, who was beside him. She sacrificed herself for me, is she wrong? She used extreme methods, and her goal was to get rid of the Yi in my mind. However, I, Yi Juetian, only like Yi. If I were to say that I was wrong, I shouldn't have chosen any girl's name back then. I should have bravely told big brother, sister-in-law, and mother that I have a woman that I like, and that woman is called Yi. Perhaps, that would have been the best result. No one would have been harmed. From Gong Yu's point of view, there was nothing wrong with her loving Yi Juetian. However, what was wrong was that this was an ill-fated relationship, and both of them were harming each other. Women are able to understand women. Qinya and the others seemed to be able to understand what Yi Juetian was saying. Of course, Donghuang Baiji was also one of them. Back then, when the two of them bumped into each other, how could they not have any thoughts towards each other? After all, there was only one man in the world, and both of them wanted to have one for themselves. However, back then, Yi Juetian's attitude was unyielding. I, the Supreme Overlord, want two women, so what can I do? However, Yi Juetian was different. Perhaps he wasn't as fickle as Yi Juetian. He was single-minded towards his feelings, and he firmly believed that Yi would be Yi. If Yi Juetian was also fickle, he would probably be able to have two beauties in his embrace. After all, what Gong Yu cared about was that Yi Juetian didn't have her in his heart, and Yi was the kind of girl that was easy to talk to. However, it was a pity that one's personality determined everything, and from the very start, it was already a tragedy. Right now, Gong Yu had already admitted to her crimes, and everything that happened was premeditated by her. As for who was in the wrong first, it was already unclear. When Meng Yao heard Gong Yu's complaints, she felt a bit moved in her heart. Gong Yu was brought into the palace, while I entered the palace willingly. Being surrounded by this square-shaped palace, who would be able to understand the pain I had to endure? However, the matter of Gong Yu framing me was a fact. It was something that couldn't be erased. A pitiful person would definitely have a hateful side to them. Yi Hua, how do you plan to deal with Gong Yu? Qinya quietly walked in front of Yi Hua and asked in a low voice. To be honest, Gong Yu's crimes were clearly punishable by death. After all, she had brought shame to the entire Wushu Empire. However, can I blame all of this on Gong Yu? If you didn't have those pedantic thoughts back then, would Gong Yu have become such a vicious woman? From being kind to being vicious, there is a process, and no one is born to be a vicious person. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. If this matter had happened in the past, I, the Supreme Overlord, would definitely have killed Gong Yu. This matter concerns the honor of the entire group. However, I, the Supreme Overlord, am also at fault in this matter. I forced Gong Yu too ruthlessly. If not, how could such a situation have occurred? In actuality, the matter that happened yesterday was all caused by me. In fact, I feel that the reason why Gong Yu became so vicious is also because of me. End of this chapter. Chapter 1170. Originally, there was a better solution, but it was useless. In the end, it made everyone unhappy. At this moment, Donghuang Baiji walked over and asked softly, Yi Hua, can you deal with this matter leniently? Gong Yu indeed deserves to die, but she only cares about little Tian wholeheartedly. Yi Hua took a deep breath. If I don't kill Gong Yu, Wouldn't it seem like I have become kind-hearted? But if I kill Gongyu, wouldn't I be too vicious, too ruthless? A woman was captured by me, came here with the determination to die, but ended up falling in love with little Tian. And because of my stubbornness, she ended up walking onto a path of no return. How do you all think we should deal with this matter? Yihua asked gravely. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other. Donghuang Baiji had experience in this aspect, and she said softly, "What Gongyu did indeed has a huge influence, but in actuality, we are also at fault. We shouldn't let her bear the responsibility alone. Don't you think so, Yihua?" Hearing that, Yihua let out a breath. What Donghuang Baiji said is right. Yihua has no choice but to consider it. Qingye sighed and said, "Yihua, Gongyu was, after all, brought into the palace by little Tian, but little Tian doesn't like her, which is why he did such a thing. No matter what, she is still little Tian's fiancée. Killing one of our own, it seems a bit." Qingye didn't finish her sentence, but she was also telling Yihua that Gongyu didn't deserve to die. Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread out. Yihua raised his head and took a look, and his expression became grave. Qian Yuqing and the others looked at Gongyu in disbelief, as if they were looking at a second Yi. This terrifying aura was being emitted out from Gongyu's body. Right now, Gongyu didn't have the slightest bit of reluctance, and her body was emitting out a faint white light. Gongyu herself had the strength of an overlord, but right now, Gongyu chose to end her own life. To her, yesterday and today were like heaven and hell. In this palace, there was nothing for her to miss anymore. Even if it was the man that she deeply loved who was just standing at the side and bullying her together with Yi, everyone was the same. At this moment, Gongyu said lightly, "You all don't have to do it, I will do it myself. You all should be satisfied now, right?" Gongyu looked at Meng Yao and said faintly. Meng Yao was speechless. However, Yi Juetian, who was standing at the side, felt very uncomfortable. This was the first time he heard Gongyu's thoughts, and he was very astonished. "I completely didn't expect that Gongyu would think like this. She did so many things, and it was actually all for me, all for the sake of making Yi disappear from my mind." Yi Juetian was unable to accept this kind of ending at all. He had plotted against Yi for his sake. Did that mean that he had also indirectly caused Yi's death? Did Gongyu treat him well? Thinking about it now, Gongyu was very caring and considerate towards me. However, previously, I only had Yi in my heart, and I completely neglected Yi's thoughtfulness. This caused Gongyu to become even more intense, and hate Yi even more. It was all his fault. He was the one who had harmed them. Yi Juetian suddenly extended his hand and grabbed Gongyu's wrist. This was the first time that Yi Juetian had taken the initiative to grab Gongyu's wrist. This caused Gongyu to stare blankly, and even Meng Yao, who was standing at the side, was dumbfounded. She had no idea what Yi Juetian was trying to do. Yihua and the others were very puzzled as well. What is Xiao Tian trying to do? Yi Juetian seemed to have thought it through, and seemed to have calmed down a lot. "None of you are in the wrong. The one who is in the wrong is me, Gongyu. You don't have to die. The one who should die is me." Yi Juetian suddenly laughed. "The reason why I ended up in such a situation is because I lacked courage, was sloppy, and was indecisive. No wonder everyone says that I only look like Big Brother, but the way I do things is completely different." From this matter, it was clear that Yi Juetian finally understood how cowardly he was today. If back then, he had rejected those partners and didn't ask Gongyu to come over, she would still be living together with her parents right now, and would even be respected by everyone. However, now that she was here, she could only stay by my side and treat me well. However, have I ever treated her well before? Never. I had only treated her as a friend. At that time, I should have mustered up my courage, directly brought Yi into the palace, and boldly admitted that I liked this woman, and that I wouldn't marry anyone else but her. To be honest, if Yi Juetian had really done that, Yihua and Lu Jing wouldn't be able to do anything about it. However, Yi Juetian was an obedient child, and he didn't dare to go against Yihua's words. "You want to die for her?" Meng Yao asked gravely, her expression clearly not good. "Just how did this woman harm me? Have you still not seen it clearly? Back then, when I was being bullied by so many people, Did you even come out and speak up for me? And now you actually dare to say that you want to die for her. Yi Juetian, are you still a human? Gong Yu was stupefied as she looked at Yi Juetian in disbelief. He finally spoke up for me. He finally spoke up for me. 2 streams of tears flowed down Gong Yu's cheeks. Even if I am going to die right now, I am still happy. Yi Juetian looked at Meng Yao and said lightly, I was the one who harmed you, and I also harmed her. The 2 of you are actually innocent, and the one who is guilty is me, Yi Juetian. I am not worthy of the love of the 2 of you. Boom. A ferocious aura erupted from Yi Juetian's body and soared straight into the clouds. Everyone in Voidless Empire was looking at this golden light. What happened in the palace? This aura is so terrifying. To ordinary people, the aura that an overlord is giving off is a rather terrifying existence. Big brother, let me bear all of the wrongs. Help me say a sentence of apology on behalf of mother. Your son is unfilial, and cannot continue serving by her side anymore. Yi Juetian said with a tone of righteousness. Yi Hua snorted coldly, and an even more ferocious aura immediately emitted out from his body, directly sending Yi Juetian flying. Yi Juetian was like a cannonball that pierced through the entire palace. Idiot! Yi Hua shouted out coldly. To commit suicide for the sake of 2 women. I, the Supreme Overlord, have lost all of my face. Things happened too quickly. Meng Yao immediately reacted and disappeared from where she was, and Gong Yu did the same. Right now Yi Juetian had already fainted. How could he possibly withstand a single attack from Yi Hua? It was already good enough that he didn't die. Seeing that Yi Juetian was fine, Meng Yao let out a breath of relief. However, when she thought about it, why did I have to worry about him? Gong Yu's situation was much simpler. She sat beside Yi Juetian and hugged him in her embrace. Gong Yu felt very happy in her heart. She suddenly felt that all of the things that she did were all worth it. Even if she were to die now, it was all worth it. Meng Yao looked at Gong Yu, who was hugging Yi Juetian, and ignored her, walking to the side. At this moment, Yi Hua brought everyone over. Gong Yu, Yi Hua shouted out. Gong Yu bowed respectfully. Your Majesty. The death penalty is unavoidable, but punishment is unavoidable. This emperor shall sentence you to life imprisonment in the heavenly prison. Do you have any objections? Thank you, brothers, for your bounty. Thank you, brothers, for your support. End of this chapter. Chapter 1171. Qinya, Donghuang Baiji, and the others didn't expect that Yi Hua would deal with the matter in such a way, and they all let out a sigh of relief in their hearts. This time, Gong Yu had indeed committed a grave crime, and yet, Yi Hua was actually willing to spare her life. From this, it could be seen that Yi Hua knew that he was in the wrong. If not, it would be impossible for him to do such a thing. Gong Yu was actually quite pitiful. She had degenerated into a bad woman for little Tian. Meng Yao didn't say anything when she heard the verdict. Gong Yu respectfully kowtowed. Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing me. Gong Yu's attitude of admitting her mistake was rather good, and she did not anger Yi Hua. Guards, bring Gong Yu to the dungeon. Yi Hua shouted out lightly. After that, he threw out a seal and sealed Gong Yu's cultivation. Without Yi Hua's main body dispelling the seal, Gong Yu was just an ordinary person. 2 black-armored warriors appeared by Gong Yu's side and took her away. Gong Yu was most reluctant to part with Yi Juetian. She did not know when she would be able to see Yi Juetian again. However, since Yi Juetian had spoken up for her, she did not have any regrets. Actually, women's requirements were very low. They just wanted to be cared for. Gong Yu could feel Yi Juetian's concern for Yi, but Yi could not feel Yi Juetian's concern. And Yi Juetian could not feel Gong Yu's concern either. It was too chaotic. Bring Xiao Tian away. Yi Hua said faintly. Qinya and the others nodded their heads, then brought Yi Juetian away, leaving behind only Yi Hua and Meng Yao. Dealing with Gong Yu wasn't something that Yi Hua instructed Meng Yao to do, and it was something that Yi Hua had to deal with. As for the final result, it wasn't something that Yi Hua was seeking Meng Yao's opinion on. After all, this was Voidless Empire's matter. However, Yi Hua still said gravely, Meng Yao, I owe you a favor. He then took out a jade slip and said, "Crush this jade slip. No matter what happens, this emperor will settle it for you." Meng Yao didn't stand on ceremony and took the jade slip. "You don't seem to have any opinion about this punishment." Yi Hua lit up a stick of cigarette and asked curiously. Meng Yao replied, "She's just a pitiful woman. As a god, I shouldn't be so calculative with her." At first, Meng Yao had wanted Gong Yu dead, but after hearing Gong Yu's story, her heart was moved. He was an exalted god, and he was going through a tribulation. This was a test from the heavens, and he shouldn't be so serious. Just as Gong Yu had said, he might be jealous. "Meng Yao, in actuality, Xiao Tian and I have an agreement." Yi Hua said faintly. This could also be considered as saying a few good words for his little brother, trying to make up to him as much as possible. Agreement. "Yes, I won't kill you, he won't see you," Yi Hua said faintly. Meng Yao was slightly shaken after hearing this. After a while she said lightly, "This is just a relationship tribulation. Moreover, I don't see it that seriously." "All right. See you again," Meng Yao said indifferently. Yi Hua nodded his head, and Meng Yao disappeared from where she was. However, Yi Hua could see that this woman was forcefully enduring. Meng Yao returned to her training room and took out her handkerchief. She put the lollipop in her mouth and couldn't hold back her tears anymore. How could he not take it seriously? Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette butt and returned to his mother's bedroom. Yi Juetian was lying on the bed. That slap just now was not light at all, and he had yet to wake up. "Yi Hua, what happened to Xiao Tian?" Lu Jing asked worriedly. Qinya and the others didn't dare to say it, and thus Yi Hua was the one to tell them. Yi Hua let out a sigh. "It's nothing much, I just hit him." "Ah, you hit him so heavily," Lu Jing said lightly. Yi Hua felt that Yi Juetian's irresolute and indecisive personality was brought out by his mother's pampering. Therefore, this was precisely the reason why I, the Supreme Overlord, wanted to let Yi Juetian go out to prevent him from being spoiled rotten by Qinya and Donghuang Baiji. If that happens, Yi Juetian would end up dying for a woman. However, now that his mother's illness had recovered, it was a great news. This way, I will be able to go and deal with Wei Chong who had gone missing and Qing Su who had escaped with Dou Fusher. Qinya and the others all felt that Granny doted on Yi Juetian a bit. Yi Hua woke Yi Juetian up, and Yi Juetian who was lying on the bed immediately sat up and looked at his surroundings. "Where are Yi and Gong Yu?" Yi Juetian hurriedly asked his big brother. Yi Hua sat at the side, and Daji was respectfully pouring tea for her master. "Yi went back, and Gong Yu is being imprisoned by me for life," Yi Hua said faintly. When Lu Jing heard how Gong Yu dealt with the matter, she let out a sigh of relief. No matter what, Gong Yu was still half a daughter-in-law, and if she was killed, Lu Jing would still feel a bit bad. Hearing this result, Yi Juetian seemed to have lost all his strength. However, this could also be counted as the best result, right? "You can go and take a look, but you are only allowed to go once a month," Yi Hua said coldly, giving the biggest concession he could. After that, he walked out of the bedroom, because right now he had to make arrangements for another matter. However, before he left, he called Yi Yuanqing over. "Big brother." Yi Yuanqing stood in front of Yi Hua and asked curiously. Yi Hua patted onto Yi Yuanqing's head. "Have you thought things through during this period of time?" "Big brother, I think I know what I should do now." Yi Yuanqing's gaze was filled with determination. "Very good, if there are difficulties then ring the bell. There will be a surprise." "Thank you, big brother." Yi Hua smiled lightly. "When the time comes, big brother will congratulate you. My little sister is going to become the empress of God's realm." "Big brother, even if she becomes an empress, she will still be big brother's little sister. And there is no need to inform me when you go back. Big brother is going to be busy during this period of time." "All right, big brother, I understand." Yi Hua nodded his head, then left and called Zhu Tian and Brett over. Right now, the husband and wife had an important mission. Wei Chang's disappearance needed them to investigate. Zhu Tian and Brett quickly received the news, then came before Yi Hua and shouted out respectfully, "Subordinate, we pay our respects to your honor. I need you two to go and investigate Wei Chang's disappearance." No matter where he is, if he is alive, I want to see him. If he is dead, I want to see his corpse. Yi Hua said coldly. We will solemnly obey your honor's decree. Go on, be careful. The other party was even able to get rid of Wei Chang. You two cannot let your guard down. I have already lost one. I do not wish to lose another. Yi Hua said lightly. I completely didn't expect that there would still be such a person in Kangluo continent. Just like how a level 100 god was acting cool in a newbie village, in the end there was another level 100 god that was also acting cool in the newbie village. Zhu Tian suggested. Your Honor, right now we are short on manpower. Should we consider calling him back? This way, we will be able to help your Honor out of your troubles. Yi Hua knew who Zhu Tian was talking about. There was still one last subordinate. I will consider it. You two can go and investigate this matter as soon as possible. Yes, Your Honor, we will be leaving first. Zhu Tian said respectfully. Yi Hua waved his hand, then turned around and walked towards the throne. Yi Hua slowly closed his eyes and began searching for Envy's whereabouts. After a long while, Yi Hua slowly opened his eyes, and his gaze was very grave. Envy's aura was blocked off. End of this chapter. Chapter 1172. Was it a coincidence that his 3 subordinates had disappeared at the same time? Or was it man-made? If it was a coincidence, that would be fine. If it was done by someone who would have such strength. Yi Hua's brows were tightly knitted as he sank into deep thought. His eyes were emitting a cold red glow. After a long while, Yi Zizi, Yi Hua shouted. Very quickly, Yi Zizi appeared in the palace and shouted out, Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Go and bring Envy back to me. No matter what method we use. Yi Hua said gravely. Your honor, did Envy disappear? Yi Zizi raised her head and asked curiously. Yes, his aura has been blocked. Your honor, where was the last place he appeared? Yi Zizi asked. Yi Hua thought for a moment. It's in Minglan communal country. Isn't that deity institution's territory? Yi Zizi stared blankly for a moment. The 2 little sovereigns were both over there. Yes. Can I ask Kayin to come with me? I'm scared to be alone, Yi Zizi said pitifully. Actually, it was just that she was too bored and wanted to find someone to accompany her. Yi Hua was tickled by Yi Zizi's expression. With a light laugh he said, Let Kayin go with you. The 2 of you be careful. Yes. At first, Yi Zizi was very happy. What was so fun about the Imperial Palace? Only going out was fun. Seeing that Yi Zizi had accepted the order and left, Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief. Basically, all of the main forces have been sent out, and there is still Lai Gu who is sleeping in the valley. This Wushu Empire had his main body overseeing it, so no one dared to come and provoke him. On the other side, Yi Juetian arrived at the entrance of the heavenly prison. The 2 black-armored warriors stood guard at the side, thinking that they were also locked inside. Behind them was Yi, but they didn't dare to meet Yi. If they had gone and given Yi some courage, how good would that have been? But now it was too late to say anything. But because of him, Gongyu had gotten herself into a huge mess, and was now locked up in there as well. He was truly a troublemaker. Big Brother letting him see it once a month was already the most lenient thing he could do. Walking into the heavenly prison, a flight of stairs extended downwards. It was so deep that the bottom could not be seen. A damp aura hit them in the face, and the sound of water dripping made them feel the invasion of loneliness. After arriving at the lowest level, Yi Juetian saw a beautiful figure. She was sitting on the ground, tightly hugging her legs, looking very helpless. Yi Juetian felt that Yi might have looked like this when she was locked up here. When Gongyu heard the faint footsteps, she raised her head and her delicate face immediately lit up with joy. Zhu Tian. Gongyu stood up and grabbed the iron bars with both hands, her face filled with incomparable joy. Yi Juetian had come to see him. How nice. Yi Juetian walked in front of Gongyu and looked at the woman who was crying tears of joy. What did he do to deserve such care from her? Gongyu, I'm sorry. I've caused you trouble, Yi Juetian said in a deep voice. He knew that an apology would not solve the problem. No, absolute heaven, I don't blame you really. Gong Yu said with a faint smile as she wiped away the tears of joy. Yi Juetian took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Gong Yu, since I chose you, I should be responsible for you. Gong Yu was immediately stupefied when she heard that. She felt as if she was hearing things. Did absolute heaven just say that he would take responsibility for her? Is this real or fake? Even if you have to stay here for the rest of your life, I will take responsibility for you. Yi Juetian gave a man's promise. Gong Yu's expression gradually became tense, and then, she squatted down and started crying loudly. She had left her home and entrusted her heart to this man in front of her. She had been sad before, and now she was even happier. She finally heard the promise that he gave her. Yi Juetian stretched out his hand and lightly stroked Gong Yu's hair. Big brother promised me that I can come and see you once a month. That's great, absolute heaven. Gong Yu tightly held onto Yi Juetian's hand, not willing to let go. However, the current Yi Juetian felt guilty towards Gong Yu, and making up for her was greater than love. In Yi Juetian's heart, it was possible that the one he loved would forever only be the dead Yi. Yi Juetian slowly sat on the ground and closely accompanied Gong Yu. This woman turned from kind to evil. It was hard to imagine just what she had experienced. All right, absolute heaven, you should quickly go back. Come and see me next month. Gong Yu squeezed out a smile and said, of course. She hoped that Yi Juetian would be able to accompany her more. Yi Juetian let out a deep sigh. Gong Yu, I will think of a way to make Big Brother let you out. Absolute heaven, you don't have to be anxious. Actually, this place is pretty good, it's quiet. I can also properly reflect on myself. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Gong Yu was still very happy in her heart. With Yi Juetian's words, I will definitely follow him. Yi Juetian looked at the surrounding cold environment. Back then, if Yi was sitting here, just how scared would she be? I'll be leaving first. Yi Juetian stood up and said lightly. Gong Yu was reluctant, but she also knew that it was time for Yi Juetian to leave. I won't be by your side. Take good care of yourself. Eat on time, and rest early. Gong Yu shouted towards Yi Juetian's back. Yi Juetian slightly trembled, then turned his head around and said with a smile, Thank you, Gong Yu. Gong Yu also revealed out a gentle smile. This might be Gong Yu's original personality. Looking at Yi Juetian disappearing from her sight, Gong Yu slowly sat on the ground and closed her eyes, and a trace of an arc appeared on the corner of her mouth. When Yi Juetian walked out of the prison, he immediately saw his big brother who was not far away from him currently smoking. Big brother. Yi Juetian called out lightly. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and passed it over to Yi Juetian. Yi Juetian didn't reject it. In the past, I felt that cigarettes were bad things, but now I feel that smoking cigarettes is rather comfortable. Let's take a walk. Yi Hua said lightly. Yi Juetian nodded his head. The two brothers walked on the main road of the palace, and the palace maids that they passed by would respectfully call out to them. I feel that if the emperor and the prince were to wear the same clothes, it would be hard to tell who is who. Big brother, before Yi left, did she say anything? Yi Juetian asked. Yi Hua knew that his little brother would ask about this matter. She didn't say anything. Oh. After hearing that, Yi Juetian was a bit disappointed. Little Tian, her name is Mingyao. In her world, everyone has to address her respectfully. High God Mingyao, she is stronger than you, stronger by a lot. Yi Hua said faintly, dealing a blow to this little brother of his who still didn't understand anything. If one doesn't experience life and death, one will never grow up. Thinking back, I, the Supreme Overlord, grew up amidst life and death, and I had to face death every day. All of my abilities were obtained for free, and they were all exchanged for with my life. There will never be a free lunch falling from the sky, and even if it does, it won't land on your head. High God Mingyao. Yi Juetian said in a low voice. In actuality, when Yi Juetian saw Mingyao today, he already felt that Mingyao was very strong. Yi Hua flicked away the ash from his cigarette, then said lightly, However, Big Brother still left a trump card for you. Whether or not you are able to redeem Mingyao will have to depend on your abilities. Big Brother? Yi Juetian was a bit stupefied, and he asked dumbfoundedly. End of this chapter. Chapter 1173. I gave Mingyao a piece of jade, and told her to crush it when something happens. I'll be able to take care of anything. Yihua patted onto his little brother's shoulder. Since Gongyu has already given you compensation, naturally, Mingyao's compensation will not be lacking. As for whether or not the compensation will be successful, Big Brother doesn't care anymore. If it was a woman he liked, then he would fight for it himself. Big Brother, are you saying that you want me to go and help Mingyao? Yi Juetian cried out in surprise, as if he saw the light of hope again. Yihua nodded his head. That's right. You look so similar to me, and you impersonated as Big Brother to go and solve the problem for me. After that, you then revealed your identity. Don't tell me that Mingyao wouldn't be touched? F***ck, he's tricking ye. Not only did he trick his own wife, but he also helped his brother trick others. It was simply terrifying. However, Yi Juetian suddenly thought of something. But Big Brother, I'm so much weaker than Mingyao. If she can't deal with it, how can I deal with it? A man. If they were content with the status quo, then what was the difference between him and a cripple? Heights were always meant to be climbed. If you don't have the strength, then go cultivate. Women will only attach themselves to powerful men. Excellence is the most important factor in attracting women. She is now Mingyao, not that stupid Yi. If you want to regain someone's heart, you can't rely on your mouth. You can rely on your strength. Yihua's words could be said to have enlightened Yi Juetian. In Yi Juetian's heart, with such a powerful Big Brother, all I have to do is to hug onto his thigh tightly. He had completely neglected his own growth. A person without strength was no different from a salted fish. If I, Yi Juetian, want to be a salted fish, it was also the saltiest one. Big Brother. Teach little brother how to become a strong person. Yi Juetian immediately knelt in front of his big brother and lowered his head. The reason why Yihua was waiting for Yi Juetian outside was also because of this matter. My younger brother cannot continue idling around. If not, he will be crippled. Yihua helped his younger brother up. Let's talk while we walk. Yes. Big Brother knows a world where there are no humans, only prehistoric divine beasts and prehistoric ferocious beasts. They can take your life in minutes. Yihua said gravely, if I want to become strong, I can only rely on myself to become strong. The interference of external forces will only restrict the growth of my strength. To be honest, Yihua also didn't want his younger brother to go to that place. However, if his younger brother wanted to become stronger, that place was the best world for him. Life and death were decided by a single thought. Every decision he made would affect his life. Those rare ferocious beasts were all found in that world. For gods, rare ferocious beasts were nothing in that world. Everywhere was filled with the smell of death. Now that the Supreme Being was gone, death was only a matter of time. Ju Tian, if you don't want to go, Big Brother won't blame you. After all, Big Brother doesn't want you to go either. He would rather you go and become a profligate son. Yihua said lightly. He wasn't trying to agitate Yi Juetian, but if his little brother really died, then, as the Big Brother, he would become a sinner. At the same time, he didn't want to see his brother in such a depressed state. He needed to fight monsters above his level. Only in that kind of environment would he be able to recover quickly. Yihua didn't hope that his younger brother would be able to surpass him. It would be fine as long as his younger brother could be on par with 7 deadly sins. Yi Juetian's gaze was resolute. I'll go. Don't be in a hurry to agree. Think about it for a month. Yihua said faintly. Perhaps, right now, Yi Juetian had agreed to Yihua's request in a moment of hot-headedness. Only when one is calm, would one's judgment be reliable. Yi Juetian didn't say anything as he pondered. Let's go to Mother's place to eat first. Now that Mother's illness has healed, you should accompany her properly. Yihua said lightly. Alright, I will. During this period of time, I have neglected Mother too much. I have let Mother down. It's good that you know. Women are important, but family love is also inseparable. If a woman is gone, you can always find another one, but if a mother is gone, then she will truly be gone. Yihua began instilling his own logic into Yihua. If Yihua and the others were to hear what he said, they would definitely be angry and ignore him for a few days. If Yihua were to answer, if your wife and mother fell into the water at the same time, who would you save? Yihua wouldn't hesitate to say that he would save mother. Today's meal was personally cooked by the 4 daughters-in-law, and it was very sumptuous. It could be considered as celebrating mother's recovery. Yihua and Yi Juetian walked into the room, and Yihua asked curiously, "Where's Yuan Qing?" Lu Jing said with a slight smile, "Yuan Qing went back, and he asked me to inform you." Yihua nodded his head. "It's good that my little sister has thought things through. However, my little sister's side might not be so relaxed. That Donghuang surname is very mysterious, and it should be related to the royal family. If my little sister wants to seize the throne, the people of the Donghuang surname will definitely not sit and watch. The bell that I gave to my little sister should be able to deal with this matter. However, is that Donghuang surname related to Donghuang Baiji or not?" Yihua's intuition told him that there is definitely a connection between the two of them. Yihua took a look at Donghuang Baiji, who was carrying the dishes. Perhaps she is carrying grievances on her back, and perhaps she doesn't even know about it. This matter can be pushed back a bit. I should first find my 3 subordinates first. This is the most important matter. There isn't any news about Qing Su from Whitebone's side. Seems like I have to go and rummage through my treasury to see if there are any treasures that can be used to find people. Yihua, what are you thinking about? Lu Jing asked curiously. Mother, it's nothing much. How do you feel today? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Yihua asked caringly. Lu Jing said tenderly, Mother has already recovered, and just now Yutong and the others said that they are going to bring me on a trip. Trip? Yihua looked towards Qing Yutong. Qing Yutong placed the dishes on the table and said tenderly, Brother-in-law, my big sister was just about to tell you about this matter. Yihua looked towards Qingya. What are you two planning to do again? Qingya placed the chopsticks on the table and said tenderly, Yihua, it has been a long time since Yutong and I went back to visit our parents, so we are planning to bring Mother and Yuqing to go on a trip. We can also go and visit Mother while we are at it. Oh, is that so? When are you planning to leave? Yihua felt that it was fine. Mother and Yuqing have never been to Earth before, and it is quite safe over there. Thus Yihua wasn't too worried. Qing Yutong said happily, We will leave in a few days. Baiji, aren't you going? Yihua looked towards the Empress and asked curiously. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes at Yihua. I have to at least leave one person behind to take care of you, right? If not, there won't be anyone to wash those smelly socks of yours. Ah. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's teasing, everyone laughed. Yihua was helpless. To think that I would say such a thing, Mother wouldn't even scold me. However, it is also good for them to go on a trip, at least I can be a bit more at ease. Alright, let's eat. Little Tian, eat more, you have become thinner these few days. Lu Jing said lightly as she picked up a chicken drumstick and gave it to her son. End of chapter. Chapter 1174. Yi Juetian looked at the chicken drumstick in the bowl and took a deep breath. Mother, I have discussed with Big Brother. I want to become stronger. Lu Jing was taken aback for a moment, then she smiled happily and said, That's a good thing. Little Tian, you've finally grown up. Sure enough, in Lu Jing's eyes, Yi Juetian was like a child that hadn't grown up, and he had matured a bit after going through this matter. Little Tian, where are you going? Qian Yuqing asked curiously. It's a very dangerous place, Yi Juetian said solemnly. When Lu Jing heard this, she frowned. Dangerous place? How dangerous? Are the people there very fierce? Yihua put down his chopsticks and said lightly, Mother, there is no one there. There are only ancient divine beasts and ancient ferocious beasts. What? Lu Jing exclaimed. Yi Juetian's gaze was resolute. Mother, I want to become stronger. I want to become a real man and shoulder responsibility. Lu Jing did not say anything and slowly put down her chopsticks. Everyone looked at Lu Jing. Little Tian, you've really grown up. Mother is very pleased. Lu Jing gently held her son's hand and said with relief. In actuality, Lu Jing didn't want her youngest son to go out and take risks from the bottom of her heart. Yihua had just returned, and Xiao Tian had already gone out to take risks. As a mother, She only hoped that her children could live happily. However, they were all men, and they carried the family's glory on their shoulders. Little Tian, mother supports you. Lu Jing smiled gently. Upon hearing that, Yihua went into a slight daze. Even I am a bit unable to hold myself back, and yet, my mother actually agreed to it straightforwardly. It was indeed a little surprising. Qian Yuqing revealed a surprised expression. Her mother actually let little Tian take the risk. Yi Juetian tightly held his mother's hands and resolutely said, "Mother, I will not disappoint you. I will make my mother proud of me. Big brother and sisters-in-law. Mother is looking forward to the day you return. My family's little Tian has finally become a man." Lu Jing caressed Yi Juetian's hair lightly. She was incomparably happy. Yi Juetian looked towards Yi Hua. "Big brother, I have decided." Yi Hua nodded his head, then said gravely, "Before you go, do a month's worth of preparations first. If there is anything that you need, just tell me, big brother, and make sure to bring everything that you need." "And big brother, I understand." Yi Juetian knew that this time, he had a slim chance of survival, so he had to handle this carefully. Yi Hua was also very gratified. After experiencing this matter, my younger brother has also grown up. Similarly, I have also learned a lot of things from this matter. After the meal, Yi Juetian went back to make preparations. At night, Yi Hua called his 4 wives and prepared to hold a family meeting. The main contents of the meeting were a few points. Yi Hua sat on the main seat, and his 4 wives sat on both sides of him. Holding on to the teacup, Yi Hua blew on the tea passionately and took a sip. "A lot of bad things have happened recently and I'm in a bad mood. That's why I want to apologize to you," Yi Hua said in a low voice. He knew that these women were also feeling wronged. As a man, one must know when to yield and when to stand tall. No matter when, it would be the same. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji snorted. "You still know how to admit your mistake. You didn't do anything wrong. How could you have done anything wrong? It's all our fault." The king of blame shifting. Through this matter, I have also gained some enlightenment and reflected on myself. Yi Hua placed down the teacup and said faintly, "Brother-in-law, this is a good thing." Qing Yutong was Yi Hua's fan, and she followed Yi Hua unconditionally. At this time, Qian Yuqing also said softly, "Yi Hua, don't blame yourself too much. Adding everything together, your judgment won't be that accurate." Qian Yuqing was about the same as Qing Yutong. She was very lenient towards Yi Hua. However, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji weren't that easy to talk to. How could they not know about Yi Hua's character? After talking for a long time, they still didn't get to the main topic. "Next, my work will be shifting to finding Wei Chong and the others. It's good that you two are leaving for now." After pausing for a moment, Yi Hua continued to ask, "Qingya, when are you two planning to leave?" Qingya let out a breath and said lightly, "After discussing with mother today, we have decided to leave tomorrow." "What, so soon?" Yi Hua was a bit surprised. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, "Mother seems to be reluctant to part with little Tian, and doesn't want to see that kind of scene of separation. Thus, she plans to leave in advance." Yi Hua felt that he was very similar to his mother. He was also the kind of person who didn't like to be separated. "That's good too. After you two go there, have some fun and accompany mother to relax," Yi Hua said with a slight smile. Mother has worked hard for her entire life. It's about time for her to enjoy herself. As for little Tian, it won't be that easy for anything to happen to him. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. Yi Hua took a look at the night sky outside and said faintly, "It's already quite late, let's rest early." The corners of Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's mouth twitched. After saying that, this is probably his main purpose, right? Qing Yutong revealed out a naughty smile. Qian Yuqing is as pure as a piece of paper. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, then immediately prepared to run away. Trying to run away. Yi Hua snorted coldly, then immediately threw out 2 shackles. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji stopped in midair, then slowly moved towards the room at the back. "Yi Hua, you pervert! What are you trying to do? Let me go." "We still haven't forgiven you," Yi Hua said faintly. "Yutong, close the door." All right, brother-in-law, wow, are we going to do something exciting tonight? This feels great. Qin Yutong seemed to be even more excited than Yi Hua. Qian Yuqing still didn't know what was going on and asked Qin Yutong. Qin Yutong said in a low voice, and Qian Yuqing's beautiful face immediately became bright red, just like a honey peach. Yutong, hold down your big sister for me. All right, Qin Yutong. You traitor. Yuqing, help me hold Baiji down. Ah, Yi Hua. That isn't good, right? Not obedient, huh? Oh, I'll do it. Dong Huang Baiji glared at Yi Hua. How can you let Yuqing do such a thing? Shameless. You will definitely be gone for a few months, so your husband plans to comfort you tonight. Don't struggle, just enjoy it. Yi Hua said lightly. This was the purpose of today. Ever since Yuqing came over, I have never had such an exciting time. Qin Yutong shouted out loudly. Brother-in-law, quickly come, I have already stripped big sister naked. Quickly come and enjoy. Qin Yutong, see if I don't slap you, traitor, to actually treat big sister like this. Brother-in-law, quickly come and shut big sister's mouth. Yutong, you are still the sensible one. Yi Hua was very gratified. I didn't take this sister-in-law for nothing. When Yi Hua woke up the next day, Dong Huang Baiji was the only one left beside Yi Hua. The other three had already left. He looked at his empress. She had been bullied last night, and tears had come out of her eyes. How tragic. End of chapter. Chapter 1175. Yi Hua sat up and wore his clothes. The empress who was on the bed didn't have any reaction, and Yi Hua didn't plan to wake her up either. Right now the empress needed to rest. Thinking back to last night's excitement, it felt really good. It turned out that having more wives had such an effect. Interesting. Right when Yi Hua stepped out of the bedroom, he actually saw the green and red brothers kneeling outside the bedroom. What is the meaning of this? Yi Hua asked gravely, especially when he looked at LV Liang's severed hand. This fellow's severed hand is a sign of his determination, and he is always on guard against me. This is the style of a man. Lu Liang shouted out respectfully. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Get up. Yi Hua said faintly. Thank you, your honor. Speak. LV Liang and Yi Hong took a look at each other. Then LV Liang said respectfully, Your honor, we wish to train together with Lord Yi. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Why did you suddenly have such a thought? Your honor, we are too weak. We are unable to take on the team's daily work. We must bring glory to your honor, not humiliation. Yi Hua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then quietly smoked. After a long time he asked, Do you know how dangerous it is to go to that place? It's very likely that you won't be able to return. Yi Hong cupped his hands and said, Your honor, even Prince Yi dares to go. Us brothers naturally dare to as well. Are your women accurate? Yi Hua asked faintly. The green and red brothers didn't say anything. Yi Hua knew that the two of them were hiding the truth from him. Would Zishan allow Yi Hong to throw away her life? As for the blood clan sisters, although they usually looked obedient and sensible, they would definitely resist such a thing. Yi Hua placed his hands behind his back and said faintly, If your women agree to it, I won't have anything to say about it. However, I don't want to wait for your women to come to me and cry and beg me after you two leave. Looking at his honor's departing figure, Yi Hong asked in a low voice, Big brother, what should we do? Looks like I still have to go back and lay my cards on the table. LV Shu felt helpless. A showdown? My relationship with Zishan is slightly better. She definitely won't allow it. Even if it's not accurate, it has to be accurate. I want to become stronger. I don't want to do anything that will bring shame to the team. LV Liang clenched her left hand tightly. Her eyes revealed a thirst for power. The scene from that day replayed in her mind every day. She had had enough of it. Yi Hong knew that her big brother still cared about it, but she requested to go this time for the sake of the future. When Big Brother encountered it that day, he might also encounter it in the future, and the result might be the same as Big Brother. I mustn't bring shame to his honor, and I mustn't bring shame to the team either. I must cultivate. Let's go back and lay all our cards on the table. Yi Hong clenched both of her hands tightly. I hope that I can help His Honor solve this problem. And at the same time, I also want to find Uncle Wei. Let those bad guys know that everyone in the team is in existence that they can't afford to offend. The Green and Red brothers immediately returned to their own chambers. LV Lu was looking at his two wives trimming the flowers with a very serious expression. LV Liang smiled and shouted, "Come here for a moment." "Hubby, what's wrong?" His sister Celine was still quite cheerful. With a happy smile, she stood behind LV Liang and massaged him. Serena sat beside him and asked softly, "What's wrong, honey?" "There's something I want to talk to you about," LV Lu said with a faint smile. "What is it?" Serena asked softly. "I want to go and gain experience." LV Liang did not beat around the bush and said directly. In actuality, the news of Yi Juetian wanting to go and gain experience had already spread throughout the team. It must be said that the team's intelligence work is really good. If not, LV Liang and Yi Hong wouldn't have gone to Yi Juetian's place early in the morning. Celine bit onto her lips and slowly sat beside Yi Hua. The two of them knew that LV Liang cared about that day a lot. Although LV Liang was much better these few days, it was all just an act. "Do you really want to go?" Serena asked in a low voice. "Big sister, you can't let hubby go." Celine knew what her big sister wanted to do, but she didn't want to. Going to that place would be the same as sending herself to death. Serena's considerations were more thorough. "Even if I don't agree to go, LV Liang will still go." Sometimes, when a man makes a decision, one must support him. Furthermore, even His Honor's own younger brother is going to go, so what else can other people say? "Hubby, I support you," Celine said with a slight smile as she held onto LV Liang's hand. "After so many years, I have also deeply loved this man." LV Liang didn't expect that his wife would open the door for him like this. LV Liang hugged onto Celine tightly, but Celine seemed to be unhappy as she sat at the side. Celine said tenderly, "Hubby, although I allowed you to go, if you don't come back, I won't be able to continue living on my own." LV Liang's body trembled. With a wife like this, what more can a husband ask for? With the two of them in this life, it is the heaven's blessing for me. You two can be at ease. I will come back. I will come back with glory. I swear. Right now, LV Liang's blood was boiling, and he couldn't wait to increase his strength. LV Liang's side had passed, but Yi Hong's side was not that simple. "What? You want to go to that place?" After hearing what Yi Hong said, Zishan was completely astonished. "Zishan, I want to become stronger. I want to contribute to the team. I don't want to do those small things anymore." "Forget it. Don't say anymore. I am going to smash my head into the wall and commit suicide. You go ahead." After speaking, Zishan prepared to smash her head into the wall. "You are a deity. Even if you were to smash through the wall, the one that would be injured would still be the wall, not your head." Yi Hong hugged onto Zishan and said gravely, "Zishan, listen to me." I'm not listening. Calm down a bit. My husband is going to commit suicide, and you are still telling me to calm down. Are you sick? Yi Hong. Wife, this time I have to go. I will go with you then. Zishan said coldly. You want me to become a widow, but I am not willing to do that. If I am to die, I will die together with you. Yi Hong felt that his head was about to explode. Wife, so many years have passed, and I have always listened to you, but this time can you listen to me for once? Since you have already listened to me, then listen to me for your entire life. Yi Hong expressed that he was angry, and he fiercely slapped onto Zishan's buttocks. You slapped me. Zishan looked at Yi Hong and said absent-mindedly. Yi Hong was confused by his own actions. I actually slapped Zishan, it's over. Now, I am even more unwilling to go. Zishan's eyes could be seen turning red as she pointed at Yi Hong. You slapped me. You don't love me anymore. You don't love me anymore. Oh my God. Does a tigress have such a side to her? If I had known, I would have ruthlessly slapped Zishan back then. Be obedient. I didn't do it on purpose. I will help you rub it. I don't want you to rub it. It hurts so much. You don't want me anymore. Zishan, let me go. Listen to me for once. Let my man go. Yi Hong said seriously. End of chapter. Chapter 1176. Zishan didn't say anything and quietly snuggled into Yihang's embrace. Zishan felt very warm. After a while, Zishan said lightly, "Will you come back alive?" "Of course." "Good. If you don't come back alive, I will definitely take revenge on you." I am already dead. And you still want to take revenge on me?" "That's right. I will make you a cuckold. I will make you wear it every day." Yihang. This is rather ruthless. However, Yihang knew that Zishan was just joking. Yihang hugged Zishan tightly and said tenderly, "Wife, thank you. Husband, you must come back alive. You must come back alive." "And I will definitely come back alive. When the time comes, husband will bring honor to you. And I am proud of you." This was the first time that Zishan said this, causing Yihang to be very excited. With the support of my wife, my entire body is filled with power. Right now, Yihua was currently searching through his treasury to see if there were any treasures that could be used to track him. There were indeed some treasures, but they were all ordinary treasures that wouldn't be of any use at all. Just as Yihua was pondering, the Green and Red brothers' voices rang out. "Subordinate pays respect to your honor." Yihua slowly opened his eyes, and seeing that the Green and Red brothers had brought their wives over. "It seems like I have managed to convince them. These two brothers sure are in a rush." Yihua looked at them and asked faintly, "Have you thought it through?" The Green and Red brothers knelt on the ground and shouted out respectfully, "Your honor, we have thought it through. If we are unable to bring honor to your honor, what difference is there from death? I admire your attitude. Since you have already decided, then set off together with Yi Juetian." The Green and Red brothers were delighted. "Thank you, your honor." Zishan and the Blood Race sisters remained silent. All kinds of unwillingness were present in their hearts. Right at this moment, Tang Wei suddenly appeared in the palace. "Subordinate pays respect to your honor." "Tang Wei, what's the matter?" Yihua asked faintly. Right now, Wei Chang is missing, and the one who is most worried about him is most probably Tang Wei. Tang Wei said respectfully, "Your honor, I want to go and gain experience." Yihua's brows wrinkled, and he didn't immediately agree to it. "Your honor, Uncle Wei is missing, but I am powerless. I hate myself for being weak, but when Uncle Wei needs me, I am unable to do anything. Please promise me." Tang Wei fiercely kowtowed on the ground. Everyone looked at Tang Wei and felt pity in their hearts. These few days, Tang Wei had been living a very painful life. Every night, she would wash her face with tears. However, during the day, she had to pretend that nothing had happened. Hearing what Tang Wei said, Yihua became silent. Wei Chang was currently missing, not dead. If he were to come back one day and find out that Tang Wei had died, how am I supposed to explain this to him? What was there to explain? "Tang Wei, nothing will happen to Wei Chang. You don't have to be like this." Right after Yihua finished speaking, another beautiful figure appeared at the scene. "Your honor, I want to go and gain experience." Li Hun shouted respectfully, already determined to leave. Yihua was very speechless. Did these people go crazy today? Are they all going to die? What is the reason for this? Yihua asked Li Hun. Li Hun said respectfully, "I can't even protect my own man. Now that I've lost him, I want to cultivate hard so that I can protect little Daodu." If Do Fusher was here and heard this, he would definitely spit out blood. "How about you be the man, and I be the woman?" Li Hun's domineering words caused even Yihua to be shocked. "Do Fusher, you are a tragedy. However, with such a woman by my side, I won't waste my life. I should properly cherish this woman." Just as Yihua was about to continue speaking, another beautiful figure appeared at the scene. However, Yihua didn't expect that this person would actually be the weakest person in history, Dongfang Yuan. Your honor." Dongfang Yuan shouted respectfully, "What are you doing here again?" Yihua was already able to guess what was going on. "Your honor, I want to go and gain experience," Dongfang Yuan said weakly. Just this voice and this appearance of hers that was being bullied was the favorite of the beasts. Yihua held onto his forehead. "Originally, I only wanted my little brother to go and gain experience, but in the end, a large group of people came over and said that they want to go and gain experience. Do you all think that you are going to go sightseeing? Do you all know what it means to have a narrow escape from death? If all of you go, I reckon that only one of you will return alive. Why do you want to go as well? Isn't it good for you to stay here? Yihua asked in a low voice. This Dongfang Yuan has always been following Zhu Tian obediently. Why did she suddenly want to go and increase her strength? Where is Zhu Tian's other wife, Guan Yanxin? In actuality, Dongfang Yuan came over sneakily, and she didn't tell Guan Yanxin about it. Dongfang Yuan said tenderly, Your Honor, Zhu Tian and Big Sister are both people with outstanding strength. I also want to become stronger and help Your Honor solve his problems. Damn you women, I'm afraid that you all are just bored to death. Is there anyone else who wants to go? Why don't you all just form a group and go on a tour while you are at it? After that, you all will be exterminating all of the monsters in that world. You all are just forming a group to fight a boss, right? Do you all want me to arrange a tank, a damage dealer, and a healer for you all? The kind that can even distribute equipment. Yihua's subordinates remained silent. Yihua shouted out coldly. Do you all think that we are going there to play? We will die. Do you all know that? We will die. We will not be able to come back. Do you all think that I will go and save you all? I won't. I won't even care about my own little brother. This is simply like playing house. Seeing that His Honor was angry, no one dared to say anything. I can find a bunch of reasons. All of them are invincible. They are just looking for a thrill. Yihua scolded out. Right now, I have no second thoughts, but when I go to that world, I will know what it means to live a life worse than death. Dongfang Yuan begged respectfully. I hope that Your Honor will allow us to do so. Although Dongfang Yuan looked very weak on the outside, and everyone wanted to bully her, her heart was very strong. Once she had decided on something, no one would be able to change her mind. Not even a Koran would be able to do so. Following Dongfang Yuaner's begging, the others hurriedly shouted out at the same time. I hope that Your Honor will allow us to do so. Hearing that, Yihua laughed lightly. All right. You all are courting death. I won't stop you all. 1 month later, all of you will set off and die. You all want me to come and save you all. Dream on. After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared from the throne. In Yihua's heart, only the members of the 7 deadly sins would be able to go to that world. For someone with Yihang's strength, it would already be good for her to be able to protect herself. Furthermore, that world wasn't a one-on-one battle. The ancient ferocious beasts and divine beasts would gather together. And as long as the battle starts, more and more divine beasts would be attracted over. The divine beasts and divine beasts would have all kinds of strange spells, making it hard for one to guard against them. Even if the divine beasts and divine beasts were unable to kill you, they would still be able to exhaust you to death. Yihua returned to his bedroom. Right now, Donghuang Baiji had already woken up. She was currently sitting in the pavilion and playing the zither, and her mood seemed to be rather good. As expected, a woman still needs to be developed a bit. If not, how could her mood be good? End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.